Okay, it is 1 o'clock. We'll bring the meeting to order. Welcome everybody that's here and online. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody for open forum?
None registered.
All right, thank you. Confirmation of the agenda is presented. Jason moves. Barb seconds. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Declaration of pecuniary interest. Anybody have anything to declare? If not, if one should arise during the meeting, you can declare it at that time. We were on to resolve into committee of the whole. Somebody care to move that, please? Joan will move that. Monica will second. All those in favor? That is carried. Reports and associated bylaws. So we're going to start off with our financial forecasting survey results. Jim is going to take us through that one. So Jim, the floor is yours, sir. Oh, we need a mover and a seconder there we go. Jim will move. And who wants to second? Martin will second that. Thank you very much. Jim, welcome.
Good afternoon, good people. Part of the financial forecasting meetings this year for the process, we initiated the online survey plus had paper copies available. We had 90 respondents. The survey was out for about a month in mid-September, October. Few of the facts in some of the sheets were that the question 2, how many years have you lived in the township? 32 of the respondents were more than 20 years. And at the bottom end of the scale, 2 to 5 and less than 2 years, 17 and 15 respectively. So a bit of a mix of newcomers and people have been around. Demographics of age for the respondents, basically in the 55 to 65 plus range, and a good version of 35 to 44 captured. The survey, most people heard through our website. – 98% own or rent property in Southgate. How are you question 5, how familiar are you with the township annual budget and how it's developed? And 41% were unfamiliar. So it's a bit of an education process by the sound of it that we need to go through, but 38 were somewhat familiar and 10 were very familiar. One didn't really care. I had to stop. Again, how much, number 6, how much do you know about the budget process? How does it work? 20. What is the difference between township and county services? 27. How taxes are collected? 37. How does the municipal property impact calculate property at current value? It's 42. What is the breakdown of what your tax dollars are put towards? 69. And what services do I receive for my tax dollars? 72 respondents to that question. So again, 46% of respondents are unfamiliar with the budget process. We asked the question about community services, if they would like them improved, maintained, or reduced. And there was a number of slides in different areas. The theme seemed to be that most wanted the service levels maintained, some improved, a few areas that were reduced, and I'll just go to the summary sheet. The respondents for physician recruitment and healthcare engagement to be improved was very highly noted. Also, the views of land use planning, 42% wanted it maintained and 33% wanted it reduced. I wonder if that's a reflection in what we call red tape and process approvals, but that's not all on our municipal end of things, but I'm sure people think that way. Again, overall, majority of people wanted to look at physician recruitment and healthcare was very high on our lists. Now, also up there was road and sidewalk maintenance, community and recreation programs, arenas and community centers, economic development. Question 24, priorities for investment that have been not presented in the list of services in the summary. Some of the feedback and comments, public works, snow plowing to be performed at least twice a day. Sometimes we do that depending on the day or whatever, but I think that pertains more to, again, a increased level of service of having another shift go out for an afternoon, something similar to what the county would do. I think that's the expectation of what the responses were. Better maintenance of common spaces for increased appeal and safety, development of new schools and child care facilities, meet the growing population. Again, that's not township driven mostly. That's outside of our wheelhouse. Downtown Dundalk revitalization to attract investment to other stores, create competition, job creation was high on the list. Comment about a few comments about completion of the new subdivisions. Again, that's not something that we totally have a driving force of. That is on developers at their different stages. Again, highlighted a lot about recreation, maintain and invest in recreation across the township. There was comments about camping spaces, indoor pool and community splash pad. And again, some other programs, mental health services and programs geared towards seniors. Programs towards seniors can be captured somewhat in our recreation programs. The mental services more so would be at the regional level, the county, more so than the municipal. For finance, it says stop tax increases. I believe that's very difficult to do with going through the asset management plan and keeping infrastructure in good order. So that's the reality of things. And another comment was again about apartment recreation centers for seniors, affordable housing. Question 25 asked about roadways you should believe should be a priority. One of them was Ida Street. Second one was Proton Street North, Southgate Road 14, Southgate Road 24, and second line south of Main, we believe is Ida they're referring to again, Dundalk Street.
You want questions as we go through,
Yep,
Jim?
sure.
Sure. Barb, go ahead.
Thank you. It struck me, I did have a question about this particular slide and the list of roads and frequency of mention Ida Street, but there was mention of Victoria Street or in relation, is the Ida Street just the from Gray Road 9 south, do you think? Or were there any indications as to what specifically they were looking for?
Not that I'm aware of. We believe, yes, Ida Street basically is the south version. When it goes north, that is 75, but there may be some confusion in the answers within that town limit up to Glen Elk Street or something as a possibility. But I think a lot of reference could be to the south, and I would be surprised, again, with that being resurfaced here just recently, just during or after this comment period. So the intersection from there to Victoria still needs some work, but that's slated for the 2026 Main Street West reconstruction because we have to get into that intersection for pipe and extending sanitary sewer. So it's not forgotten about. It just wasn't make sense to do it now and rip it up again. And we couldn't do the other infrastructure till we get into the Main West.
Thank you. So it's possible that some of these comments were as Victoria Street was being completed, the resurfacing and everything, because Victoria Street's been completed end to end now, other than that intersection at 75.
Yeah,
Okay.
John can maybe confirm when paving was finished on Ida, but I believe it was if it was late September, but
I
before.
believe it was actually in October before
Okay,
Cider
so,
Creek got.
yeah, it might have been just before we got it. Okay, yeah. Again, there were some other comments of different streets that we're focused on. Some are not our streets at this point in time, like Main Street, Highway 10, Highway 6, Highway 89, Gray Road 109. They're out of our jurisdiction, so those comments are a little irrelevant to us. And some comments made about some of the development streets that are currently maybe have base asphalt, but not the final second coat asphalt on them. And then question 26, areas where you believe the township is overspending and where you would like to see tax dollars spent more efficiently. Again, some overspending that was cited was staff and admin salaries. Dundalk and Holstein as a general comment, planning and development, library services. More efficiency, they would like to see maintenance of gravel roads, more attention should be given to the outlying communities, fire and policing, other emergency services, community upkeep, debrushing, delittering, and clearing of ditches, medical centers, recreation activities for kids, snow removal, schools. Again, some of those are out of our control somewhat. And then the following services are partially funded through user fees. Which of these services, in your opinion, should you have increased user fees to lessen the township's reliance on tax funding? So the number of respondents were somewhere around 17 for the arena. So that would mean increased arena fees. Community facilities rental, that's up there around 26, 27 respondents. Recreation program, over 20, and transfer stations, 24. So you see that for the most part, that they are willing to pay for more services as opposed to having the burden on the taxpayer as a whole. So that's something that may be considered in the future for our fees.
I would think different on that a little bit differently. I would suggest that it could mean that some people that responded to this question don't use these services and they want others to pay more so that they don't have to pay as much taxes.
Good take on it. Yeah.
That's how I answer. No, I'm kidding.
Question 28, in your opinion, was the most important issue the township should prioritize in 26? The top one was reduce taxes, then attract new business, road maintenance and improvement, policing, affordable houses, healthcare, family doctors, traffic safety, developers to complete work, recreation, community beautification, and childcare. And other comments about prioritization, again, schools, bylaw enforcement, develop Main Street area, community center, stormwater and sewage, other areas outside Dundalk, job creation, customer services aimed at community engagement. And then again, there's some one-offs, some small business, staff professional development, recruitment of qualified staff, public transportation, soccer field, emergency services, reduce development fees, cater more to multiculturalism. So again, due to the rising costs associated with maintaining service levels and supporting infrastructure, the township carefully balance property taxes with growing demand for services. In accordance with provincial requirements, the township is required to maintain a balanced budget. To achieve this, it may consider options such as adjusting the range of services offered or modifying services levels. So one of the responses was decrease taxes by reducing tax-funded service levels. And that was over the 20 mark of respondents, so a quarter of them. Increase investment into municipal infrastructure, that looks to be about 18. Increase taxes to expand or enhance tax-funded services, that's probably in about the 7 range. Maintain taxes, even if it means reducing some tax-funded service levels, reducing. And that was a big hit by the look of the respondents by about 32. And then increase taxes to maintain tax-funded service levels at about 10. How would you like to be informed about the budget process? Website updates was about the strongest answer, well as social media updates. Public information meetings, paper, newspaper. Again, we're at a public information meeting here today, and it's noted that there's no public in attendance. And that's basically the survey in the nutshell, but if there's any other areas that council would like to look at a little bit or some more comment, let's open this discussion.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Any comments, thoughts, questions? Well, I would suggest to go way back into the survey there. I forget where I saw it, but the notion of maintaining, increasing or decreasing the customer service levels, and the vast majority wanted to maintain that level of service. And that tells me that our staff are doing a great job. And I thank you all for doing that. Any others? Comments, insights, interpretations? Madam Clerk, anything? No? No? Okay. Jason?
Well, no, to echo what you said, it looks to me that most people wanna, yeah, we're doing a good job, kind of maintain it. They don't want a whole bunch more taxes, but they are willing to pay. And I agree on the user funding or user fees on a bit of stuff like the arena, what have you. If you want to use it, I think you're gonna have to pay more. That's how it is. So, no, I was kind of happy with seeing that people were, we kind of just want to maintain what we're doing. We don't want to go crazy or go backwards. Just a comment.
Yeah, no, I think you could take that from the survey very, very easily. Barb?
Thank you, through you, and maybe to Kevin Green, our Recreation and Facilities Manager. I too had a question about the increasing the fees from our recreation committee that has been in the past, but also discussions that we've had at this table and your recommendations. When you look at fees, facility rental fees, recreation or skate times, all of those costs that are user fee paid, we're not generally looking to make money on that endeavor, but to make it worthwhile to help maintain those. When you look at those fees, do you consider the surrounding area and what they're charging for various or like facilities and services? And I seem to recall that our goal was to be at or less in order to make it attractive enough to use the facilities. Because if it gets too high, then people stop renting the facilities, and then we are in a situation where they're not using the facility, and so therefore, why do we have it? Can you elaborate on the process that you go through on determining where's the sweet spot in all of that? Or we're still trying to figure that out?
No, thank you for the question. There is a process, and usually what I look at, you're right, we did try in our original documents to try and be the lowest funds. But unfortunately, and I don't want to name what municipality is close to us, has ridiculous rates. And we can't run our facility, those rates. So what I've been doing lately, the rates are basically based on our geographic location. I compare them against who's north, east, south, and come up with kind of a general middle number that works for the community. So, yes, we could go up, we could go down. It's just more what the tolerance is for the operating deficit on the facilities. If that answers the question.
Very good. Thank you. Martin?
Yeah, kind of jumping on that with the increased user fees, John, the transfer stations. They might be going up anyway because of what's happening with the waste, so. The fees charged, are they comparable to other townships, or are they based on what we pay for the contracts or pick up stuff and what have you?
Yeah, we more or less base it on a cost recovery, but also keep in mind, we do look at neighboring municipalities, and make sure that we are not outrageous or in line with what they are as well.
Okay. All right. Well, certainly it'll give us some insights, or has given us some insights to inform our discussions going forward here this afternoon. So thank you, Jim, for that. We did have a mover and seconder to receive that, I believe, did we not, Madam Clerk, or no? We did not. I thought, there, yes. Jim and Monica, I believe, or Martin, Jim and Monica, yes. Martin, yes. All right, all those in favor to receive the survey results? That's carried. Excellent. Moving on to the staffing presentation for the be resolved, the committee of the whole received the staffing presentation for information. Oh, that's Kayla's report. Okay, sorry, I missed that a little bit. So I need a mover and a seconder to receive that report. Jim again, Martin again. Okay, that's cool. Kayla, welcome. The floor is yours, please.
Thank you. Okay. As part of this financial forecast meeting, we thought that it would be appropriate to review our staffing. And so we want to inform on current staffing levels, compare Southgate to other local comparators, understand the challenges and demands that are facing staff, and how we plan on addressing it. This is just our current org chart, and later on in the presentation, we'll have an updated one. This chart here shows our current staffing levels by department and compares 2023 to 24 and 25. It also makes a special note on any additions or removals that we've had. On the next slide, it does have the totals on there. It does say that there has been an addition of 8. This is a little bit tricky. What we did was we used part-time and seasonals. We just put them in as 0.5. We didn't actually calculate their hours and be like, this is a 0.2, this is a 0.7. We averaged it out that each seasonal staff person and each part-time staff person is a 0.5. We've also had fluctuations up and down within that 6 that you see there. For other municipal comparators, I did not list what comparators there were, just I felt that it wasn't my information to share. However, they are neighboring municipalities that are of similar sizes. We do get asked this question a lot of like, how do we compare to other municipalities as far as staffing levels go? It's a very difficult thing to compare because not everybody has the same services. Even if we do have the same services, they vary. For example, roads, you know, how many kilometers are rural versus urban, that kind of thing. So we do have the comparators listed. Some of them might stand out to you of like, why would that be NA or something like that? It could be handled by an upper tier or contracted out by a third party. I did reach out to a few others, but these are the ones that I got back. And that's just continued. Oh, one other key consideration that I do have listed there that I noted when looking at other most organizational charts within this area is there is a director level of staff that we have not fully implemented here. Just to review some core functions of staff, going through, so we have this service delivery, regulatory and compliance, administration, operational support, emergency services. And the next slide goes more specifically into the Township of Southgate and what services we specifically provide. Moving into the challenges that we are currently facing, and I mean have been for a while, and absolutely lower tier municipalities are facing probably all the same challenges. Downloading from other levels of government, we've seen this. There's some examples listed on here. Legislation changes. This is something that has really become prominent in the last, I would say in the last year, it's been a lot. It has been coming, but these legislation changes are causing a lot of additional work for staff because we have to keep up on it. We have to review our policies, our bylaws, make sure our procedures are all in line with these. Sometimes we get notified, sometimes we don't, sometimes we have notice, sometimes we don't, and we come into having to react. Balancing increased service demands with the increased cost of living. So we know that the cost of living continues to increase and we're trying to maintain an affordable rate for taxes, but there is a higher expectation from the ratepayers and residents. So we're trying to balance that out. Recruitment and retention of staff. We have seen fewer applicants for specialized roles, and we know that we're still challenged with baby boomers retiring. However, I do want to note in this that our retention level has gotten better lately. So I don't, it is still a challenge, but I do want to note that it has been better. High workloads and demands do contribute to some of that challenge in retaining staff.
Kayla, do you know what our turnover rate is?
I don't have it on the top of my head now.
Thank you.
I can look it up though. Some other challenges that we see are technology with cybersecurity and AI. These are, AI could be a great thing and really help us with efficiencies, but it can work against us just as quickly. Legal, we're seeing an increase in legal cases or threats of legal action and increased expectations. So as we get newer community members, there is an increased expectation that the township do try and provide the resources. And we do try and use what's available to the best we can. So this goes into what we're going to do, or our methodology of how we are handling all these pressures. So what we've done is identified gaps and efficiencies. We've mapped out our tasks and responsibilities, tried to figure out what makes sense that should be together. Literally, sometimes we are sitting with a great big whiteboard and being like, okay, what makes the most sense here? Use other local municipality job descriptions and structures as comparators. You know, if other people are doing something really well, then we want to take a look and see if that's a solution for us as well, and identify resources and technology that can be used. So just like anything, there are pros and cons to this methodology. Some positive things that come out of that are, you know, it is a cost effective. It focuses on finding efficiencies, which is a great thing. And it does cause a lot of like crossover and redundancy as far as people switching roles. So then we have people that know multiple, or we have multiple people that know the same thing. So that's always good. And motivation for staff to work towards their goals. So the way that we've set this up, it gives staff a path forward to grow, and that also helps with retention. Some more negative things that could come out of this methodology is we are continuing to increase workloads on existing staff, but you know, they already are at capacity, and then we're trying to shift things and we inadvertently sometimes overload them. And this causes kind of a catch-up effect. That's all kind of the same thing where, we're temporarily trying this out, but we're eventually going to have to add something somewhere. Something has to give eventually. And then perception that one person gets moved up at another's expense. So we've run into this where we've, for example, promoted somebody from a day-to-day level to more of a higher level, so they're not involved in the day-to-day as much anymore. And that puts increased pressure on the people that are doing the day-to-day. We're essentially causing a gap. So these next few slides are going to get into the specific challenges and gaps that we've identified and how we plan on addressing them and what we've put into the 2026 budget to address them. So for the Public Works water operations, we previously split Public Works into a roads and waste division and a water division. This was recognized as an overload to have all as one thing. We did it for the management. However, we had not broken out the administration of it. And the administration continues to be an overload for one person to handle all three divisions. 4 if you're including wastewater as a separate division. In addition to that, we did, when we moved to a manager of Public Works water operations, we did leave a gap in a team leader or supervisor that handles day-to-day operations as well as a backup ORO for the water and wastewater operations. We have a temporary solution, but permanently we did not have a solution. So the solution to this was to break administration into the same 2 divisions that we currently have for the management. And how we're doing that is merging the water operations person administration with the utility billing. And what this does is it causes an efficiency, not an inefficiency, where it's one person handling all water administration from the billing, people calling in asking about water bills can lead into also water leaks or something like that. So it is more efficient to have one person kind of be that forefront person for that and work with the manager of water operations. In order to do that, we had to shift responsibilities off that person because they were already an FTE with a full plate. So those got shifted to other finance staff. Canine administration is going to be going back to bylaw and facility booking, and that administration would be going to administration staff and recreation staff. The other part of the supervisor would be to promote an existing water operator to a team leader for a backup ORO and on the ground coordination. What this does is still leaves that gap in the day-to-day operations. So to address that, we've added a water operator halfway through 2026 to try and fill that gap. And we also have an upcoming retirement in that department that we know of. So that would help with succession planning and getting that person trained and on the rotational schedule ahead of that retirement. And then in 2027, we would have to make a decision if that's a full-time headcount that we've added or not. Moving on to Public Works, Roads and Waste. Similar thing that I spoke about in the last slide is with the administration. So again, we've split it out. So now there will be a Public Works coordinator of roads and waste, and that gives them the ability to focus on those areas which are very busy. And the other gap that we did cause through the restructuring was that we combined the lead hand and the Public Works foreman fleet manager and ended up being the lead hand in Holstein that was successful. So it's left a gap where this one person is trying to do what was 2 roles, and it's proven to be an overloaded role. So in order to try and help that, we have put in that we would promote an existing roads operator to a team leader for on-site operational needs. And again, we still feel that there is a bit of a gap there because we're just adding more to somebody that's already existing. So in 2026, how we have addressed that is by adding hours for a casual operator that can be used if the operators are feeling overloaded at certain times. Moving on to the clerk's department. So we have seen an increase in a lot of different things in this area as far as administration that the clerk's department handles. Cemetery ownership is one of them. We've taken on additional cemeteries and we foresee that this is going to be something that continues. So that has caused an increase in workload. I talked about the legislation changes that happen and the impact it has on staff. The clerk's department is, the one that looks after all of our bylaws, so it hits them very hard. And there's been an increase in land sales, other legal agreements that the clerk's department facilitates. They've also taken back website and communication oversight. This was taken away from the clerk, taken out of the clerk's department at one point. However, the position that was looking after it was then removed from our organizational chart. So the clerk's department has now taken it back on. Something else to highlight, and if I went back in my slides, you would be able to see, but the clerk's department actually has lost an FTE throughout the years. There was somebody that was helping in the planning department and eventually shifted fully into the planning department. So they're actually, we've essentially given more work and less people. And then not to mention the 2026 election. So for this, our solution is to increase the clerk's department by one full-time staff member. That would be a coordinator. And in 2026, we also have a contract position that is shared between finance and clerks, and we plan on increasing them in the clerk's department to help with the 2026 election. In the recreation department, we have seen recreation programming expanding greatly. From what I hear, everybody's really happy with it. The survey results show that. The survey results also showed that people want to add to the budget. It was one of the very few things that was pointed out that maybe people were okay adding to the budget in order to increase the programming. They've also taken on additional parks with new developments, and that will continue. And we are shifting some of the administration tasks as far as facility booking to the recreation department. Again, this is an efficiency. It makes sense to have it all in one place, that the people that are preparing the facilities also know when they're getting booked. And possible expansion of recreation programs to the West End is something that's been a conversation. So with all these increased demands, it has caused gaps and challenges. So our solution to this is to increase staff in the recreation department by one staff person. We have budgeted for 30 hours per week to start, and this new position would help with supporting the programming coordinator with running programs, because our programming coordinator cannot be in all places all at once all the time, and also help with other recreational operations. In order to offset some of the cost of adding a new staff person, we have moved grass cutting in Dundalk from a contracted service to staff would be doing that service. In addition to that, something else that we've identified this year is that there are software programs for recreational program and facility booking, and we feel that the public would really benefit, and staff would too. It would be more efficient for us, but it would be easier for the public to book facilities and programming through this new software, which would be integrated with our website. So that's been added to the budget as well. In the bylaw department, we see bylaw enforcement continues to increase, and our bylaw enforcement officer is out of the office quite a bit because they're attending the properties majority of the time. Canine control also continues to need attention and consistency. So our solution to that is shifting within the building and bylaw department and increasing the responsibility level of an existing staff person who's the building administrative assistant, and have them be the building and bylaw coordinator. In order to do this, we would be shifting some things where the building inspector and CBO would be taking on some of it. And also we implemented Cloud Permit a little while ago, and that has caused some efficiencies. I mean, this person still needs to be somewhat hands-on with that program, but it has alleviated some of the hands-on work that is required. This person would also be looking after canine control as far as kennel licenses and dog tags. And we continue to look into dog tag options and what we can do for process improvements and different ideas in that area. We have the library. The library, similar to recreation programming, has expanded its services. People are enjoying them and using them. So this does create more pressure for staff. The librarian CEO does manage the adult programming as well as collection development, board administration, and she's trying to balance this with, executive duties such as strategic planning and operational oversight. We've taken a look at this one and thought that for 2026, we could increase hours and responsibilities of an existing position. This is a part-time position of somebody that we currently have, and they would be given more responsibility, help with adult programming, and just help improve that service quality. So here is the 2026 organizational chart with all the changes listed that have been in the last few slides. The ones in red are positions that have changed, and the ones that are in orange are new positions. And then here's a summary of everything that we've kind of talked about. There was a lot of shifting going on, so it's a little bit hard to follow, especially when I do it slide by slide. So this gives a better comparison. You'll notice that the finance department has dropped, and that would be because the utility billing person is moving to Public Works. They're still going to be doing the utility billing, but that's why that went down. And then you'll see little asterisks beside the clerks and finance, and that's because that 0.5 in each department is a contract that ends in January 2027. And the other note would be that the Public Works Administration did go up, but that is because it came from water. Finance. Like, where did that come from? Yeah. It was split. That's what it was, is that it was, yeah, it came from finance as the utility billing person. So in conclusion, we just wanted to talk about demands that continue to increase for staff, how staff are trying to strategically and methodically address these. We're trying to find cost-effective ways to do this. And for the 2026 budget, it's resulted in 2 new FTEs. And I'll take questions.
Thank you, Kayla. Very good report. Questions? Barb?
Just my initial question is with regard to this last slide where it shows Public Works water, where there's an increase in complement. Is that fully captured through the non-taxation? So it's user captured? Because it is water related, municipal water.
Yes, for the administration person, it did shift. They were partially already funded by water because they did the utility billing, and now they would be fully funded by water. When it comes to the staff person, like the bottom line there where staff, the operators have turned 4 to 5 and we're starting halfway through the year, that one would be partially tax funded because of the roads portion that the Dundalk staff still complete. Thank you.
Any other questions? Martin?
Yeah, thanks, Kayla. This may be probably to Lindsay. With the increase in cemetery ownership and admin, there's going to be a lot more boards probably closing. But what kind of admin do you actually look after the permits for the digging? So you do all what the other board would have done then?
Yeah, through the mayor. Yeah, essentially whenever I'm gonna say absorb a cemetery,
Yeah.
we treat it the same as we do Maple Grove. So we do all of the administration, all of the burials, all of everything, reporting, compliance. John, I'm sure could add the maintenance, everything. We take it on as a cemetery that is now under our ownership. So I think people miss that there's actually a huge administration component to cemeteries, and
Oh, for sure.
it was kind of a on the side of the desk sort of task when we just had one, but it's not on the side of Holly's desk anymore. It's a lot of her workload is cemetery.
So there's also obviously tax money, but there's user fees with the permits for burial, so it's kind
Yeah,
of.
so there's like purchasing of the plot
Plot.
and yeah.
Oh, you do
and-
that too?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
very good.
well, it depends. If we take on, it's more if we take on an active cemetery. We took on Woodland, beginning of this year, and it is active, so they are still doing burials, so yes.
Okay.
And people are still able to purchase plots, I believe, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And increase in service requests is marriage licenses. There's 3 of you that are allowed to do that. Is there any?
So
Any
I think you're
weekend work?
thinking of officiating versus the
officiating?
licenses.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, there's actually probably 4 or 5 of us that can officiate, and that's more a cost recovery. So that's not so much. It's actually the licensing. We were on the province's list to be in their modernization program. So now we now issue licenses through that program. So previously we'd maybe issue 10 a year in the most. This year to date, we're at 52 that we've issued. So
Oh, smokes.
but I think, yes, it's modernization for the public, which is great because they can apply online, but it didn't take away the administration aspect of issuing a license. And currently, there's Holly and myself and our part-time, or not part-time, our half FTE that can issue, as well as a staff member that's currently on leave.
Okay. One more, if I may.
Absolutely.
And the freedom of information, have you found that gone up? Because you've included it, and is
Yeah.
there a user fee for them, or is it mandated if somebody asks, you do it no matter what, right?
So yes,
Yeah.
we have to, when we receive an FY request, it's $5, which is a legislated fee. We cannot raise that. That's in the act. So they have to pay that fee and we have to process it. So I have a whole spiel during my slide in Taylor's presentation, but yeah, we've definitely seen an increase in not so much maybe the volume, but more what the request is. And it's taking a long time to review and redact and go through the information. They're not as quick anymore. So there's maybe not a huge volume compared to other years, but the time that it's taking us seems to be, they're just a lot more involved than they used to be, I'd say.
So a $5 registration fee for 6 hours staff time.
Oh, way more than 6
I was being
hours. Yeah.
hypothetical.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is legislated through MFIPA. And we cannot raise that. Yeah, we can charge search time though, for searching and redacting. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Joan, you had a question. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Kayla, I was trying to keep up, but within all of the departments, for new hires, how many people you're looking at for new hires across the board, like in total?
Thank you through you. So it is 2 new permanent hires. We do have an additional headcount in the water department halfway through the year, but that's not a permanent decision at this point.
Okay, thank you.
The answer's 2.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions?
Sorry, just a follow-up.
Oh, okay, I'll do a follow-up with Joan and then I'll go to Monica.
Sorry, Kayla, and would that help to relieve staff of some of the overwork that you spoke about, like the 2 people?
Thank you. Yes, it would help in those areas. And just to be clear, I do foresee that we have to wait out and see some of the other areas that we've made these changes. And, in 2027, we might have to re-review. But in the administration areas and the recreation area, yes, it would help with the overload that's happening.
Thank you.
Okay, Monica, you had a question and then I'll come back to Martin.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you and good afternoon, everyone. And just through you, Chair, thank you, Councillor John, for bringing that question about how many roles, because I was gonna ask about that, which leads into my next question nicely, which is through you, Chair, to Kayla. Are we comfortable relying on current staffing for asset management and compliance under Regulation 588 and 391 moving forward?
Thank you. I believe we are covered in that area in finance, with the treasurer being back. And in 2025, council did approve an asset manager, an asset coordinator, and financial analyst who we do have on staff now and who's in the middle of diving into it. So I believe we are covered for that area. Yes.
Thank you. Just a quick follow-up, Chair.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. And just something just with regards to clerks and election, is the 0.5 addition election linked or permanent? Meaning like what operational gap would exist in 2026 without it?
So that 0.5 isn't new. That's currently we share between the clerk's department and the finance department. We do share a staff member. I'm not sure when that contract, I'm trying to think when it started. This last summer. We've had it. It's been existing. It was approved as a 2-year contract. But in 2026, so right now I think it's 40% clerks. So we're going to shift it to be 50% clerks just to help out with the election. So helping with help centers, helping voters when they come to the office with their, if they're missing a voter card, that sort of thing, just having that support at the front counter. We just expect that they'll be doing more clerks related tasks than finance. And then the clerk's department is also hopefully if the recreation software is approved, then we would be in charge of implementing and of that software and taking over the administration of recreation so that that person can also assist with implementing that software, hopefully.
Wonderful. Because you mentioned recreation, just one question about your staff member. If you would just give me a chance for that, is that I know Ethan's doing a wonderful job. Is it possible that we get another Ethan? Could they get 2 Ethans? Because I know he works a lot and he does a great job. Has there been a consideration? Because just in the public, a lot of people also say that he's fantastic, he's great, but I don't know, is that the appropriate question to ask now in the staffing model?
Well, we're going to try to avoid names, but
Oh, sorry.
we could just talk about positions. That would be better. But nonetheless, I share your sentiments. Kayla?
Thank you. Yes, the new staff person for the 30 hours a week in recreation is meant to help support the current programming coordinator.
Oh, coordinator, sorry. I was thinking manager, so I was gonna get it mixed up. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Jim?
Just to touch on the asset management coordinator. Yeah, we're gonna get through our rendition here of this asset management plan, but that is no stopping there. We will be taking the reins with these new developments, the assumption of the subdivisions, all those assets currently, for the most part, are not included in our plan. So they will be tackling, bringing them into the plan, as well as we're just wrapping up the 2025 roads management study, which the plan was built on the previous one. So there's a lot of updating, and asset management plan's a living document as well. So it needs constant upkeep. So yes, it will be busy in asset management.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim. Any other comments or questions on the report? Martin?
No, I had one.
You're good?
It's kind of answered.
Okay. All right. Barb?
Thank you. And through you, just 2 things. With regard to cemeteries, through you to the clerk, when a cemetery board wishes to dissolve themselves of the cemetery, and is it not legislated that the township must assume it?
Yes, we have to take it on, yes. So,
So
and I
another-
know, sorry,
No.
no, you go ahead.
So another download, basically.
Essentially, that's not new in
No.
legislation, though. That has been for a while. Fortunately, a lot of our private cemeteries have had, successful boards that have ran them, but we do hold some trust funds for a few other cemeteries. So I imagine it won't be long before some of those independent boards dissolve and we have to take ownership of them, and a lot of them are active.
Right. And board members are aging out.
Yeah.
In more ways. The other question was for Kayla, when you were speaking about comparators. I recall there's a program Midas, which when you enter in your financial information return, it gets entered into Midas and for staff to pull out comparators for like municipalities. So the criteria would be geography, urban versus rural, population. There's a number of criteria. Are we taking advantage of that? It's not something that the public would have access to. There's a whole bunch of schedules that can be achieved, but I'm not even sure it's still active. I just know it was something raised a few years ago.
Thank you. I'm not aware of that program. Generally, we're reaching out to municipalities. I know in the FIR, it isn't as granular as this as to how many staff in each department, though. We could use it for other comparators, though, so we can take a look. Thank you.
Okay. Martin, yep, go ahead.
Kayla, with the two new positions and all the talk about gaps and the overwork and overloading and all that, and with the problems with attrition, people moving, these two new positions they're obviously made for those reasons, but the succession planning, do you actually talk about that with a new hire to keep them, or is that something that, because I'm assuming these two will be for succession in the departments as well, especially recreation, maybe? So is that something that you talk to the people about?
I would say that in the past, it's been a bit inconsistent. It depends on the role and the situation, I guess, and where the path is forward. But it is something that is on our list of HR initiatives, is to work on succession planning and just trying to map that out a little bit more clearly for staff so that they can see a path forward, and that so we can be prepared when there are people that leave due to retirement or other reasons.
Thank you.
Okay. Not seeing any other hands. I'll call the question. All those in favor to receive the report? That is carried. Thank you, Kayla. Moving on to the mayor's budget financial forecasting presentation. And I think Taylor, you're going to take us through that. I need a mover and seconder to receive that report. Jim will move it. Joan will second. Taylor, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Glad to see everybody's faces today in person and virtual. So to start off, despite this being a forecast meeting, I've decided today be the most appropriate to continue my tradition and my take on the Federal Minister of Finance's tradition of wearing a new pair of shoes to the delivery of the budget. This is one of my personal favorite traditions in relation to accounting and finance. So, or second to audit. Before I begin, I'll have council know that in my annual performance review 2 weeks ago, Jim's last line was how excited he was to see my new budget shoes. So after all, I'm glad I no longer need an excuse to go shopping. I didn't need much of one. And now it's officially a job requirement, which I plan to excel in every year. Thank you, Jim. So finally, with strong mayor, there will be no official meeting when the budget is tabled. Staff has worked hard and put significant efforts into the budget that will be brought forward and forecasted over the next 3 meetings. And we have taken our own departmental needs into consideration while also ensuring optimum and in some cases improved service levels for the township as a whole. We are proposing efficiencies and continue to keep the residents our priority. And with that, I'll hand it back to the mayor for some opening comments, if that's okay.
Thank you, Taylor. I don't have anything prepared like Taylor does, and I'm not wearing any new shoes. Although I like your rationale. I could use a new pair of boots. Anyway, I guess what I foresee today and going forward the discussion is that we'll have a good discussion around the presentation, as you'll see in the next few minutes. we're not going to be entertaining motions today. It's simply to receive the report. But I would, and I would appreciate some good discussion, some good ideas onto what you think of the budget as it's presented so far. Because after we're done the forecasting meetings, I'm going to sit down with Taylor again and Jim and other staff to see what the impacts are of any and all suggestions put forward in the meetings, and then how we might implement them. And that will encompass the budget in its entirety, and will be presented or tabled as I think the legislation calls it now. And then subsequently, at other meetings, council will have opportunities, if they're not satisfied, to make amendments, propose amendments through motions and so on. So I'm looking forward to today's discussion. I know there's been some recent new news that Taylor will talk about that should make our job somewhat easier, I hope. But I don't want it to stifle the discussion, because we do need some discussion around, are the resources being put where they need to be put for maximum impact. So with that, thank you, Taylor. I do want to thank Taylor and indeed all of staff. In spite of the fact that it's called the mayor's budget, it's not the mayor's budget. Well, it is, but it's not. I will give full credit to staff for the budget that's in front of you. I mean, I've been involved in terms of more meetings and listening than I've ever been in the past, and I appreciate that. But I'd be lying if I said it was me that did a lot of the work on it. So the staff did all the work. So Taylor, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm just going to go through a run through of how today might look. So we're going to go through, similar to last year, I will present kind of overall items related to the budget, and then each individual department head will go through their own information. At that time, I would think it's the most appropriate to ask questions of the department head. Should you have questions, say you want to go back to recreation and now we're in water, if we can just keep those questions to the end, and then for sure we can flip back, but just to avoid any confusion and timeliness to kind of get through as we're kind of into the 2/3 of the day left. So yeah, so that's how we're gonna kind of go. And then anything, I have Renee here. If council has questions on how specific decisions might impact the rate, then we can work it out on the fly and we'll have those answers right away, and then we can take them back for deliberation. Okay, this is just overall kind of very similar to last year, pretty well no changes. What the presentation is going to look like. This is the budget timeline, forecast, and tabling. So today, December 3rd, meeting number 1 of the financial forecast. December 17th, financial forecasting meeting number 2. Number 3 forecasting meeting will be held January 21st. And then as of January 30th, the budget will be officially tabled through regular meeting. There will be no formal meeting on the budget. Feel free to jump in at any time, clerk, too.
I can if there's concerns or questions around that.
Okay.
We're good.
Perfect. Strong mayor is not my strong suit. So February 4th, budget meeting number 1, council may propose amendments by resolution at the regular council meeting. And then 2 weeks later, again, budget meeting number 2, council may propose amendments by resolution there as well. And then as of March 1st, the 30-day amendment period ends. So if no amendments are received or tabled by that time, the budget is deemed passed at the rate that it was left at. Up to March 10th, the mayor has a veto opportunity, and then the deadline for members to override mayor's veto, if any, would be March 18th, and that would be the end of the budget process, and our budget is passed March 18th.
That's correct.
Okay. Clear as mud. Okay, so overall budget impact. So forecasted Southgate rate in the information I had provided you was 5.11%. I shared earlier today that yesterday the MPAC growth forecast for 2026 was released. I had in 100,000 of taxation increased revenue for growth. And it looks more like 700 on a conservative lens for growth. So that is bringing that 5.11 Southgate rate down to 0.88 of a Southgate rate for the year. So 1% of the Southgate tax rate throughout this budget is $145,023. In the 25 budget, it was $124,453. And I just wanted to bring this next section forward because I have never presented this budget as a Southgate rate. I've always presented it as a blended rate. At the time when I had this as well, I didn't have a firm number on Grey County, so we were going to go ahead with just the Southgate taxation rate. We do believe we have a more firm number on Grey County, so we can, going forward, present both rates as blended and Southgate specifically. So just if there's any confusion on that. So 145,000 is related to Southgate's 1% increase and 220 is blended rate total 1%. And then at the time, I currently had 3.33 for the Grey County rate in there, which was the increase for 2025, but we believe it's going to fall around 6.6%, which would, in that iteration of the information, would have left us at a 5% blended rate, but now it leaves us at 2.28% blended rate as a starting point today, essentially. So any decision we make today, we're no longer going to reference 5.11. We're no longer going to reference 4.16. We're going to start at 2.28. And any decision we make or talks we have, we're going to present as if it's 2.28. I think it'll just be less confusing, hopefully, from my view anyway. Sorry, blended. Yeah. So the other major item that's an overall budget impact, so will come up as a gap in every department, is wages. It's the cost of living allowance that we currently have budgeted in as an increase of 2%. The total impact that is on the year, excuse me, is 126,000. Of that, 105 is related to taxation, and user fee is just shy of 21,000. Any questions so far? Okay, so overall budget impacts. So these are essentially everything that's uncontrollable or already approved or deferred items through the 2025 budget that council decided to defer into 26. The first one being the debt repayments on Victoria Street. So in the 2025 budget, we had only budgeted to pay the first portion of the debt repayment. So this is bringing us up to a full year of debt repayment. So that's a 1.36 increase on the Southgate rate. Police services increase. I have not received the official OPP increase for the year. So they said the max is 11% that they'll increase year over year. So right now I have a placeholder in for 153,000, which is just over 1% of the Southgate rate. Sorry.
Question.
Since we're on the police budget, that 11%, if I recall, doesn't include any adjustments. When we usually get the bill, there's the increase, but then there's the catch up on extra policing that may have been incurred in the prior year.
Correct.
Reconciliation.
Thank you. Reconciliation. So the 153 currently is just the potential for 11% cap on their operational increase.
Correct.
There could be another, well, I think it's averaged out to be $200,000-$300,000. That could be extra.
So it could be, I just have no way to
No, I
forecast
understand.
that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just knowing that
Yes.
at the outset, that 153, we won't hold that to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put something in there, essentially. They did reference in their letter that there would be a discount table as well, so it maybe will flush itself out. I don't know. But at least we have some amount in there to be more reflective of what it could be. There was a small increase year over year between the two conservation authorities that affect Southgate at a 0.07% increase. Insurance premiums increase for the year, so it's pretty minimal from what I could get out of our insurance company. One thing that I had failed to budget for last year was the RST. So RST is retail sales tax. It's applicable to all insurance and it's at the expense of the user. So we do not get any of that money back. So that's why there's a $32,000 error there essentially. So I can take that out on my chest as an error that I have created in this budget, unfortunately. Roads operating, so there's a large chunk of side road 75 getting a municipal drainage work completed. So 150,000 is projected to be Southgate related. The project is projected to cost upwards of 1.5 million. So the 150 is our portion and the rest would be charged out to the residents affected. So that is a 1.03% increase. The project is believed to be completed by the end of 26. In the 2025 budget, we had pushed out 50% of the tandem plow truck. So we had budgeted 50% in 25. Now we owe the rest in 26. So 135,000 is a taxation hit. The rest is related to hopefully selling it for $30,000 and then 50,000 funding from the winter maintenance reserve. We also deferred the pickup truck from the 2025 budget into 2026. So that's a 0.34 increase on the rate. And then step increases were also already approved through the policy brought forward just recently. So that's 66,000 of taxation and then about 23,000 for user fees. So if there's any questions about those items.
Oh, Martin, go ahead.
Yeah, kind of talking about the police services increase. It says a maximum of 11% year over year. Was that not capped by the province for just 1 year?
Yeah, last year.
So could that could potentially be more in 27 then?
Yeah. Is my understanding. Yeah.
Okay, carry on.
Okay, so,
Oh,
sorry,
Barb, you
go
have a
back.
question? Sorry.
More of a comment with regard to conservation.
Yep.
The SVCA, I can't speak for GRCA, but SVCA did notify you that we were aiming for 6%. It is now coming in at less than 2%,
Yes.
but it didn't factor that $9,000, didn't factor in the category 3 payment, which there's an additional fee because we agreed, Southgate agreed, well, the watershed municipalities unanimously agreed to support the continuation of category 3 services, which was the water quality assessment. So there'll be less, but more.
Okay.
And trying to find I thought I brought it with me, but there was a new schedule.
So, yeah, Lindsay had forwarded it to me. It's actually not included in that number, and I believe it's actually a reduction. Sorry.
It is insignificant in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, so it will reduce $6,000 for draft 2 of the forecast.
But does it also, have you factored in the category 3 agreement, which is in addition to the municipal levy?
I-
Clerk?
I can review the correspondence. I would have hoped that they would have included that, but I will review the correspondence and check, and if not, I'll reach out to them.
I can make sure that you get it.
Yeah.
Okay,
I-
perfect. Thank you. Again, small, but better to be accurate. Okay, so any other questions about uncontrollable or already approved items?
Oh, Jim, sorry.
Yeah, I just touch on drain 75 and in talking with the drainage engineer, they're hoping that'll go to construction in 26. It's been a long process. Our portion still, we did the major culverts at the elevations they need to be a few years ago and everything. But this is for works on the sides and the ditches for different catch basins that are required in there. So the majority, excuse me, of the municipal work is done. It's other just tying in the pipes and the ditch lines and stuff like that. So
Very good. Thanks, Jim. Okay, Taylor.
Okay. So additional proposed items. So as Brian kind of alluded to, we had many meetings with department heads. These are all items that we originally had on our wish list or want list, you could say, and that we've pulled out as items that could be added in, but we didn't see them as necessity to bring forward to this forecast essentially, and we'll leave it at the table to see if there's appetite to bring any of these back in. So Side Road 39 microsurfacing for 82,000, Wilders Lake Road microsurfacing for 150,000, Side Road 41 microsurfacing for 22,000. Gonna screw up what that is. Gray Road 9 to 26. Side Road 49, double surface treatment for several sections there. So for 420,000, roads capital contribution to reserves 500,000 is suggested. This would be pretty close to in line with the asset management plan as suggested earlier today. Structure 33, the bridge replacement for 200,000. Administration capital contribution to reserves is suggested for 500,000. Fire capital contribution reserves is suggested at 100,000. Finance capital contribution to reserves, financial system replacement. I would suggest doing a $25,000 contribution to reserves. Library capital contribution to reserves is 100,000. Waste resource and diversion management, collection truck. We propose that we give the 50% deposit in 26 and 50% in 27 for 275,000. Roads, new lead hand position. Library outreach position and administration operating, pay administration strategy update are all items that were considered and we've taken out, but could be added back in. But if we added everything back in, it would be 17.42 of an increase to the Southgate rate, so. If there's any questions on any of those specific projects, we will talk about them at the individual level, but if you have questions now. All good.
Let's
Sure.
carry on.
Moving on. Okay, so I'll take the reins on finance. So again, as last year, I'm presenting the total operating budget, total capital budget by department, and then the year over year increase budget to budget. I'm not comparing actual to budget. I'm comparing 2025 budget to 2026 budget. So for finance department operating budget, I have projected us to need $851,000. This is an operating increase year over year of 124,000. Obviously, that's quite significant. There's a few things considered in there of, obviously, I was on maternity leave half the year. So in an effort to save money in 25, we budgeted only 6 months of my salary. We also brought on an asset management plan financial analyst, and that was budgeted to start 6 months in. So now in 26, that's a 12-month hit essentially. The customer service rep was the same thing. And now that's going to be a bit more of a split to clerks and recreation. So that's a plus for finance. There is an increase of $6,700 for audit fees, which is based on our agreement that we currently have with KPMG. And then an increased capital contribution as 2 of our laptops in the department are at end of life essentially. And then something that I would like to see brought back in, and we have brought it to the table before, is a contribution to reserves for our financial system. Many treasurers in Grey County and surrounding are looking into new financial systems. A lot of the Central Square products have end of life dates on them now. So I'm in a lot of these meetings. Now, the one we use is Keystone and it doesn't have an end of life, but I'm kind of in the talks with people just to see how their implementation process goes, because this does take time and it's a significant undertaking, and I wouldn't go into it lightly, and I don't really want to go into it honestly, but I think we need to prepare for, should we need to, we should have the money aside. And like I said, we did have 200,000 aside previously, which we reallocated the funds for IT enhancements in 24 and 25. So we've done major server upgrades, VoIP system upgrades, phone system upgrades. So it was great that we were able to do that and use those funds for that. So if anybody has questions related to finance, if not, I'll pass it off to anybody else.
Nope, not seeing any questions for now.
Okay, so admin,
Kayla?
For the administration, which includes HR and IT, there are some increases. And then as far as capital, just a contribution to reserves, and we generally try and budget for office furniture just in case we need something in the administration office. We are recommending an additional contribution to reserves, as well as a paid administration strategy update. It had been identified that ours works, although it is slightly outdated. So we did get a quote to see if we could get an update from a consultant, and that's like from a third party, and that was the cost of it. So we didn't recommend it in this budget, but possibly in future.
Okay, any questions on admin? Martin, go ahead.
Kayla, I just saw the insurance, 22,000. Is that just for cyber insurance, or is that included in any budget, or is that all wrapped up into the insurance? deal?
remember how I said there's an RST error? That's mine. That's my error.
Oh,
it
I
just-
didn't remember that.
Yeah, okay. Oh, good. But it is inherent throughout the entire, like all the departments that have a insurance cost have an increase because the RST wasn't budgeted previously. And there's a 5% increase, but the rest of it is RST related. So not any increased cyber insurance.
So with that being said, with all these IT little things we're learning about when we get that little Dora or whatever her name is on the on the video, like, would there be a budget item just specifically for cyber insurance then, or just an asking point?
Yes, I think that is something that we are working towards, that we'll bring to council, and just our strategy towards that.
Okay. Carry on. Ken?
Good afternoon, your worship. So the planning budget is, we'll see a slight decrease year over year in the operating budget. Despite the fact that we are still seeing a high volume of applications, and I'll just let you know that this is, since 2020, this is our third busiest year, and we are still over our average number of applications. There'll be adjustments in wages and benefits. There were also a few modifications to things like advertising and conference and membership fees, given adjustments from places like on the Ontario Professional Planners Institute. We did also complete a fee analysis in terms of our neighbors here in Grey County and a few other neighbors in Wellington County. So we're projecting an increase in revenue. We'll be bringing forward some fee modifications when the fees and charges bylaw comes forward.
Okay, thanks, Ken. Any questions on planning budget?
Oh, and I'll just mention the carry forward of the zoning bylaw review and the capital budget that was approved by council last year, which is coming out of a reserve. We think it may also be able to be covered to a certain extent by development charges. We're looking into that, but that will carry forward into next year.
Very good. Thank you. Not seeing any questions for now. Oh, Barb, go ahead.
Thank you. And under the total capital budget contribution to reserves for CIP taxation, the community improvement plan.
I think that's with economic development. That's next.
Oh, sorry. I saw the planning at the
Yep.
top.
No, there's,
Just getting ahead of myself.
that's all right.
Thank you.
So just
We'll hold that.
Just before, well, hang on to that. We may not have any other questions. Are there any other questions for planning? Not for now. So Brenna, you're up, and economic development, please. Now you know what to speak to.
Exactly, yeah. And it's on the same slide, so I understand why it's a bit confusing. So for economic development, we do have an increase as we are in the process of finalizing our downtown revitalization strategy. And so it's kind of putting money in there so we can initiate some of these projects. If you see the $50,000 increase to capital contribution and you look below, you can see the breakdown. those numbers don't match. The breakdown is 70,000, but that's because where it says 50,000, that's because we've applied to the province to have 20,000 covered to do our renderings and wayfinding signage strategy and streetscaping strategy for revitalization. So that's why the numbers don't add up, and we'll find out about that whether we're successful in January. So we'll only go through with that if we are successful. Then we'll also under capital budget, we're going to be contributing 20,000 hopefully to reserves for our CIP as we are getting more traction on that. We are at the moment, since my last CIP report, we're left with 27,000 that hasn't been spoken for in the CIP. So we're wanting to make sure there's more funds in there to improve buildings across the township. So these are available to any business in the township of Southgate, provided they are zoned correctly. And then we're proposing $10,000 towards entry signage for Dundalk. And then we'll go back up to the $2,000 in advertising. That's to, promote Southgate as a place to visit and shop. And that will be focused on gathering video and photographic content outside of Dundalk, so more in those rural areas. So we're using some of that money from this year to film and photograph the Holstein parade in 2 weeks. So that's kind of an example of something we'd do with that fund. And then $700 towards professional development. Yeah.
Okay,
Any
thank you,
questions?
Brenna. Any questions for economic development? Martin, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Brenna. Brenna, the 10,000 entry signage, I'm assuming that's for Highway 10 signage?
That's right. We do have plans to do both entry signs as they do match on both sides of Gray Road 9 on the east and west. I am anticipating that we'll have to apply for other funding to be able to support to ensure that we can do both entry signs.
Okay, that was my point. That didn't look like enough to me.
That's right. Yeah. So my intention is that we'll have to apply for some grants to supplement the cost.
Any other questions for economic development? Barb?
Thank you. And through you to economic development. With regard to 2 items, the contribution to the community improvement plan, I note and thank you, Taylor, through you to Taylor, the reserves for the community funds, and whether or not there could be consideration given to using I'm fully supportive of contributing to the community improvement plan. It took almost 8 years just to get it rolling, and now it has grown some legs and people are starting to embrace it. So I think that maybe the county will consider expanding on that, but for now, I am supportive of contributing it to it, but could we consider drawing that from the community funds? 10,000 from the Eco Park and 10,000 from the solar fund rather than taxation as a consideration. And the other item that I didn't see, and maybe I just missed it, the Chamber of Commerce. We have 1 year remaining on that memorandum of understanding. And I was surprised in 2025 to see it in taxation, and where is that coming from? And I would also suggest that 5,000 from each of the community funds cover that, only because I don't think it was ever the intent that the Chamber of Commerce would be a taxation-based contribution. I always thought that it was going to be community fund related because it was the first year. Just throwing it out there for conversation and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to clarify through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you for bringing that up. So the Chamber of Commerce is funded originally the first year of the chamber, when we had our initial 1-year MOU, it was funded through those reserves. And then following that and subsequent years, it was funded through the economic development budget under our memberships line items. So that's just some clarification of where that money comes from.
So we have one more year to go. It was a 4-year deal, right?
That's correct. Yes. So our current MOU was for the 3 remaining years, and we made modifications after the first year and then just made a modified one for the remaining 3 years, and it goes until the end of 2026.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding economic development for now? No? Okay. Thank you, Brenna. Moving on to the clerk's department. Lindsay.
Thank you. Through you. So just over $126,000 increase to the operating budget for a total of just over 429,000. A large majority of that is the legislative coordinator, which would be a new FTE as we discussed previously during Kayla's presentation. And I will go into a little bit more about that. I'll just maybe get through the other parts first. So we also discussed a change in the split of our current contract, the customer services contract. It was, what was it? It was 40% last year, and it'll be 50% this year to help with the 2026 election. And some other things driving that increase is just legal fees with the land sales. That's a lot of that stuff. And last year we attended virtually our one conference, and with the election, we'd like to attend that in person. So that did drive those fees up a little bit. And the marriage ceremony revenue, I'm thinking that's a mistake and my fault and should say license revenue, but I'll have to double check that. So I'll maybe get into the coordinator position. We discussed it a little bit previously and we touched on some things, and we just have noticed there's quite a few deficiency areas in the department and we really do need the additional support. So as Kayla had said, we've actually had a decrease in the staffing level in the department. It did shift to a full-time planning when we used to take on the planning. That obviously got too much for that person and they went solely planning. So we did lose the legislative part of that role. And we've had an increase in workload. We talked about the cemeteries, and we just foresee that that's going to continue being a trend. I know Holly has maybe talked to a few of the other boards, so that is definitely coming down. And as stated, we do have to take the management of those on. We did talk about the freedom of information requests, and what largely drives that too is our records management. We've haven't really done great in the past with our records management. We definitely need a better plan and a better process in place and training in place. And that should, in the end, help with the FOIs. Right now, when we receive, we are struggling to search and that sort of thing. So we definitely are in need of a records management system in place and that proper training and seeing it through and doing all of the records related stuff. And that has a huge legislative component to it, specifically with the Municipal Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act. We touched on the marriage licenses. It's the modernization program is really great for the public, and it has streamlined things for the public to when they submit. It's a lot easier, but as I stated earlier, it doesn't take away that administrative side of it. So like I said, we had a huge increase. We used to get between 5 and 10 a year, and we're at 52. And yeah, so that is time consuming. And I think Kayla touched on it as well with the removal of that strategic initiatives and communications coordinator role early this year. We took back on sole maintenance of the website and social media. So that's another thing. And we have had a bit of help from our CAO admin with some posting, but as far as maintenance and anything in the back end, that's solely been on us again. And there is only 2 of us, I will remind. And the other thing is, I did again touch on it, was the recreation administration with Ethan as, here I am naming a name, but with our program coordinator. very, very busy and needs that assistance. We think that if we can get a recreation software, that will really, really help with the programming. But a lot of it is web-based and integrating with the website. So it made sense for the clerk's department to take on the integration of that system. And then bookings has always been ran by finance department staff, but that's going to shift into our department. So that's another thing that we'd be taking on. And of course, the election. So I could go on, but I'll leave it there. Yeah, essentially we're kind of just scratching the surface of a lot of things, and we really do need the support. So hoping for that coordinator position.
Okay,
And otherwise, let me just flip back here. For capital, it would just be the laptop and tech for that new position, should it be approved. I
Okay.
think that's it.
Thank
I'll
you,
take
Lindsay.
questions.
any questions on the clerk's department proposed budget? There's been some attempts in the past, I believe, for records management reform.
There's
Take
been
it-
attempts.
I take it didn't go well?
No, no.
Okay. And the other question I had was. Sorry, did I interrupt? No? The other question I had was the cemeteries, the notion that we might be taking on more in the future.
Mhm.
We do have the ability to stop burying. Well, not necessarily, because if people have bought their certificate for burial, they can still exercise it, but we can stop selling. Correct?
We could, yes.
So and I'm
We
not
could.
suggesting we do that, but on some of these real small ones that
Yeah.
you see scattered amongst the township,
Mhm.
there may not be any active burials.
Could not be. Yeah, there wouldn't necessarily be.
So just because we take it on doesn't mean we must sell more burials.
Not necessarily sell, but yeah, doing the burials if
Exist-
someone's,
the
yeah,
existing.
already purchased, and the reporting is actually a big component. The Bereavement Authority of Ontario has legislated required reporting every year, and
Yeah.
that's a lot of work.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, not seeing any questions for Barb, go ahead.
Thank you. And cemeteries is a lot of paperwork, a lot of administration. a
Holly
lot
should
of-
come sit up here and take my seat because yeah, she's our cemetery girl.
Well, and so we have increase in cemeteries and we have an increase in marriages. It's, as
Yeah.
It's a
Gro-
grave concern.
grave concern. With the FOIs,
Yes.
it was asked earlier
Mhm.
about, the administration fee just to register an FOI is $5. And the legislation allows for you to keep track of your time and the amount of all of the redacting. And how many times is the total challenged where people just refuse to take the work that has already been done? Or the fee has been, so you present to this is what it's going to cost. We have
Mhm.
we've estimated, and you've done the work and they don't take the file and then challenge it in another stream where they get the information anyway. This has occurred in another organization, and where they have challenged the fee and it has been reduced by another authority.
Sure, yeah. I can't speak to it in Southgate. We haven't really had a whole lot of that, to be honest. But we have had the challenging of the decisions, which is a whole nother administrative process that you deal with. So yeah, I can't really say we've had a lot of people challenging the fees necessarily. I mean, if they want the information, they have to pay for that fee. But yeah, I can't speak to many challenges with that, but we have definitely had our FOI responses challenged for sure, and that creates a whole nother avenue to work through.
Okay. It is 2:40. Why don't we break for a few minutes and we'll reconvene at 2:45 or thereabouts. Okay, we're recessed. We ready to roll again? So let's move on to council. Who's taking that one? The Madam Clerk is. All right, Lindsay, floor is yours.
Trying to think what that reduction is. Obviously with this one, there's not a whole lot to comment here. It's an election year upcoming, so we will be taking out of our reserves to pay for that. And then new council-elect laptops. And then we do have our base contribution to the reserves every year for the election. So a lot of this is election related. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot
Okay.
to say about this one, but can take
Any
questions.
questions on that budget? Okay, not hearing any. Thank you, Lindsay. Moving on to the building department. Phil, welcome.
You want me to start? Okay. Okay. So I just want to start off again. That the building department budget has $0 value tax on impact on taxation. There's a decrease in litigation, hopefully. The reduction in the contract fees with RSM, building permits, reduction, and the removal of a position for an inspector. It was budgeted in last year. We're taking it out, and there's just a kind of a juggling from an inspector to deputy. And a new laptop for capital as one's at the end of its life.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Barb, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Very optimistic with reducing litigation. The other, you mentioned an inspector to deputy. Like, do you have a deputy CBO position or?
Yeah, so that was budgeted last year. It was never filled.
Oh, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Phil. Moving on to bylaw and canine. I guess that's Phil again.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, total operating budget of 294,000. Legal, again, decrease litigation, hoping, and it's 25,000 decrease year over year. And the capital would be 5,000 to the reserve for a new vehicle and a tablet for the vehicle that we currently have.
Okay, any questions on bylaw? Nope. Canine?
So in discussion, we have, hopefully we're going to reduce MSS's hours. We feel like they have done a very good job with their presence. So it'd be about a $19,000 reduction, 3,000 pound service and the legal of 3,300 and 0 to capital.
Okay. Any questions on the canine? Barb?
Not so much a question, but a comment. I did note or was contacted by parents of the schools who noted the presence of a MSS, a canine enforcement officer, about 10 days ago for a period of time. So at our bequest of them increasing their patrols, I still question how that reduces hours if they're increasing their presence in our area. I know that maybe they're just being more visible, which is appreciated. Just wondering or where that hour reduction will come from and how it will affect our ability to enforce canine control.
Thanks for the question. Through the chair, we're hoping to decrease those patrols of the school on a weekly basis. And we don't have the kennel inspection anymore. That was brought up in a council. It was brought to council to take that out of the inspections.
Go ahead.
So the question from a couple of parents was, why were they at the school as opposed to just patrolling, having a presence at the bus stops or in the problem zones? And so why was it just so that parents and the kids could see that there was a presence? Because it wasn't really patrolling if they were physically stationed at the school drop-off.
Through the chair, so they were doing the patrols of the subdivisions and around the schools for any loose canine, because they have had received complaints around some of the schools that there were dogs, but they have made a presence all around the town.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions regarding canine? Joan, go ahead, and then I'll come back to Martin.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Phil, why are we decreasing the services when we're having a lot of stray dogs and a lot of dog off leash and a lot of problems with the dogs? I thought we were increasing the services.
Bill?
Through the chair, so we decreased, we had it in our budget for 35 hours for MSS, and we were going to decrease it near the end of this year until some certain incidents happened, and then we left it there. But now we feel that we can decrease it and still maintain the same level of service.
Okay. Joan?
Sorry, can I follow up? I could just comment.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say that you cannot maintain it and decrease in the services. I don't think you have seen what is happening in the subdivision with these dogs, wild and crazy. So I don't know. There are lots of complaints, and MSS takes forever to come to, and there's a call. But I don't know, it's a budget thing. I guess that's not the complaint right now. But I'm sure Councillor Singh-Soares can add on to that about the level of wild dogs and dogs off leash.
Um,
Go ahead, Monica.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor John. Yes, I do understand, like in a rural town in agriculture, there are certain parts where like dogs can come off leash and it's a way of life, and that's very respectable. I think within the subdivision though, with the close proximity of the homes and the way things are there, I too have heard many complaints and concerns and have witnessed a lot of dogs off leash. I know a few years ago I had mentioned that we should have I spoke with the manager of recreation about having a dog leash off leash park so that people can actually go somewhere to have their dogs off leash. I don't know if that's still a consideration or within the budget to do something like that, but it might help to answer this problem. But yes, I do agree that a little bit more enforcement, more education. I myself, I get a little nervous walking, especially with my 7-year-old, because I do see very powerful animals that are like different breeds that and even cute dogs they have teeth. So I think that it's important to really focus on this, especially with what happened recently, I believe near the school. And I never shared this before, but my husband also he got like bit, but it didn't break his skin, but it broke through his pants and he had a hole right through, I think it was his pants or his windbreaker. It was one of the two. And so, yeah, it is definitely a concern. And I think that this is something that we can continue to improve on for sure. And I know that the challenges and everything that are there, but this is definitely something I think would probably be more in the moderate to higher risk challenges that need to be improved on.
Well, Bill, maybe I'll ask a question. How many hours a week do we currently fund them for? Is it 35? Is that what I heard? So with this decrease of 19.2, how many hours a week would that take it down to?
25.
to 25. Okay, Jim.
I think, and Phil and I have went over some of the recent bills, but and I'm just going off the top of my head, and that's part of the reason we're recommending a decrease is we're not seeing a whole lot of information being gathered in those areas at this point in time, that it's kind of looks manageable, I would say. But you know, contrary to people being there, living in the situation, they're not there 24/7. So, but from what we're getting from the reports back from MSS logs is that it seems a decrease in dogs at large. Anyways, I think would be fair.
Yes, that's correct.
Barb, you had a comment or a question?
Thank you. And with the conversation, perhaps the education piece and the communications that have gone out recently with regard to care and control of animals, perhaps the message has been communicated out in sufficiently for now, and having those patrols more regularly and the visibility of canine control and municipal support services, they perhaps having all of that in the last 3-4 weeks has created a sense of awareness of the importance of keeping dogs on leash. And if MSS is seeing a decline in what they're witnessing as to dogs being at large, hopefully that will continue. And we can always likely increase it if we need to. But did you not say earlier that a portion of this reduction is because they're no longer doing kennel inspections?
Yes, that's correct. So we did have it in the budget last year for the kennel inspection as well, which we have taken out now of the bylaw. The township does not perform a.
So a portion of the hours from 35 to 25, a portion of that would have been devoted to kennel inspections, which no longer is happening. So it's not necessarily a reduction in the canine aspect of patrols and control and enforcement, but the overall.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, great. Thanks for that. Picking up on that clarification. That's kind of where I was going with my question. Okay, Martin, go ahead.
Yeah, the 3,000 for the pound service, is that enough for you, Phil?
That
Or that fluctuates with the amount of dogs we've been hearing of
it
it?
does fluctuate. Yes, that's correct.
That'd still be a good number for you to.
And it's cost recoverable as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Phil. We'll move on to fire and emergency management. I see Chief Malnick on the screen. Good afternoon, Chief. The floor is yours, sir.
Good afternoon, members of council. First, I just want to apologize for any background noise you might hear. I am in a factory, so kind of uncontrollable, but I will go through this budget. So we have a 107,750 decrease year over year. Most of that is due to we were paying off that tanker truck, tanker 711. So now that has been fully paid off. We have seen an increase of call volume around 21%. So there has been a little bit of an increase to wages and benefits, contracted services. We have, as council knows, we've renegotiated some contracts. One of them you're going to see coming in the near future is as well as the 911 dispatch fees, which we've reduced. But there is contracted services increase of having Hanover on retainer. We leave a little bit of money in there, as well as computer services, and legal fees have increased as we've been taking every single agreement to the lawyers for legal review before bringing it to council. We have increased our building maintenance. It's an older building that's requiring more and more maintenance. And as you can see, there's a reduction in the capital contribution. We are hoping for additional items for consideration, which is the contribution to reserve, as we are pretty low on our reserves currently. Our capital budget, we have $34,200 for SCBA air bottle replacements. That is out of taxation. So we are trying to do a phased in approach where we currently have the cylinders that we wear on our backs are 2216 PSI. They no longer make those cylinders. They only make 4500s. PSI cylinders. So this is to replace one truck at a time of air cylinders. The cylinders are only good for 15 years lifespan, but they require to be hydrostatic tested, just like a propane tank, every 5 years. With that is the additional $7,500, which is to convert our existing packs that we've purchased in the past, knowing that we would have to get out of the 2216 PSIs. We purchased the packs knowing that we could retrofit them. That was one of the selling features of buying the used ones to 4500s. This allows us over 5-6 years to slowly convert our fleet of cylinders and SCBAs over to 4500 versus spending $300,000 in 1 year and having all the cylinders expire and require hydrostatic testing in the same year. With that, we have one set of bunker gear for $3,100. We have $10,000 Cascade bottles. So council did approve air fill compressor this year. So we don't require the Cascade bottles for that because we are currently running 2216 cylinders like mentioned above. But once we do switch to the 4500 PSI cylinders, we'd require bigger Cascade bottles at the back of the compressor. So that is the 10,000. And the $5,000, Grey County and the CAOs have all agreed, as per our 911 our new radio system, that we're going to put $5,000 away each year into a reserve. So when it comes time to replace it, we have money. And Grey County is going to hold that reserve. And the $3,000 computer, that is potentially for an end of life. We'll have to relook at that to see if that computer is actually at an end of life. And revisit that on round 2 of this financial forecasting. And I'll answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief Melnick? Barb?
Thank you. And through you, hi, Chief. With regard to the fire truck, the aerial fire truck in 2027, we used a significant portion of the reserves to make the deposit, or will be using a significant portion of the reserves from DCs, because the aerial truck is fully DC eligible. The additional item for consideration where you're suggesting that we should consider putting in $100,000 into reserves, that's from taxation.
That is
Can
true,
you-
Mayor. That is correct. That is so our normal reserves, not our development charges reserves. They are pretty empty because we have bought newer fleet over the years. So we need to start replenishing that for 2035 when we have to buy the next vehicle. Otherwise, that will be fully out of taxation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Not seeing any. Thank you very much, Derek. Carry on at the factory.
Thank you. If you guys have any other questions later on, please let another staff member know, and I will log
Right.
right back on.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on to library. Lacey, welcome. Floor is yours.
So for the library, there is an increase of 70,000 year over year. The majority of that is the 57,000 to capital contributions, and an increase with wages and benefits, which includes a slight increase in responsibility and hours for a current position. For capital, we have the 27,000 for library collections. 15,000 of that is for DCs, or comes from DCs. 5,000 for computers and 2,000 for furniture, which we like to have in there in case something needs to be replaced. And then the 60,000 contribution to reserves for potential future expansion of the library. And then items for consideration is even more contributions to reserve and the community outreach position, which was discussed at last year's budget.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for Lacey? Barb?
Sorry, Martin. Lacey, through you, Lacey, this doesn't show a picture of the contributions that the library has received from the Friends of the Library year over year for the programming and services that staff do a great job at, or the grant funding that you've been successful in receiving from Community Foundation Grey Bruce. I would say that this year alone, you probably around $8,000.
Yeah, with the grant, yeah.
Right. So, and the funding from the province that you get to run a library hasn't really changed in how many years?
I think we're getting close to 30.
30 years. So it's been constant. So in order to create an oasis where everyone feels welcomed, and the programming that the library does, whether within the building or outreach at the various locations, that wouldn't happen if it wasn't for a lot of the extras or the extra funding that you're getting.
The extras that we're getting from the Friends does help significantly with our programming. A lot of the time it covers things like the summer reading program, some of the bigger events, including like our Halloween event that we host every PD day before Halloween. So it does help significantly. But just to correct, it is in our budget. We do have a line for revenues where strictly for the Friends donation. So it is being reflected in our budget.
Thank you. And to that point, a couple of the reading programs that you do operate is actually, well, the one that you got for Community Foundation Great Bruce, the literacy take-home kits, actually help adults not only share the reading experience with their children, but also improve their own reading abilities. So congratulations on that one.
Thank you.
Martin.
Yeah, hi Lacey. Just the 5,000 in computers, is that staff and patron or just patron?
It would be for either one, depending on what our needs are. We just had a meeting actually recently about our computers and found out that 3 of our patron ones have to be replaced because they can't be updated to the latest Windows version, which causes security issues. So we'll be focusing a little more likely on patrons in the near future.
So again, like I was talking to Phil, is that enough? If you already have 3 that you know are on the way out?
It will be, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for the library? Not seeing any. Thank you, Lacey. Moving on to recreation and culture. Kevin, welcome.
Thank you through the chair. The operating increase year over year is 21,000. In that, there's a 24,000 we're adding in this computer service, which is the software for this new program that will do registrations, facility booking. It's something that will definitely help us out. It is pricey, but it's something that will certainly help us over the long term. It may increase some revenue too. In that too, we have the new position, 35 hours, but to get it up to 40 hours, we're going to take back some of the yard maintenance. So it's not really a decrease in yard maintenance. We would take back the rural yards that are close to Dundalk, and that works out to about 10 hours a week in the summertime. So that will help offset that position. And we increased some revenues up to, I think, about the tune of about 14,000. So that's how we got to 20,000. The other thing we did decrease, which is down in the total capital budget, the contribution to infrastructure reserve, it was at 180. We dropped it down to 125. So that's a 50,000 decrease to help offset that position. In that capital, the 300,000, that's if the road bypass goes through. It may happen next year, may happen 2 years from now, may happen 3 years from now, but that's DC charges anyway, so it's not against taxation. We will have to do some the development studies to start that sports field. 75% of that's DC, 25,000 will come out of reserves for that. And everything else is pretty much what we're going to do for capital projects is all out of reserves, nothing against the taxation.
Okay, thank you, sir. Questions for Kevin? Joan.
Sorry, it's not a question to the budget. Something just caught my eye. Recreation and culture, did we change the name? Was it always recreation and culture?
It has been today. I don't know. To be honest,
Okay.
Taylor?
Since I've presented the budget, it's been that, so I don't know if there was a change just recently prior to me coming on, but.
We called it that in 2014 when we created the
Committee?
community, yeah.
Oh, right.
We
We amalgamated all the.
yes, all the
Yeah.
community boards, we put them all together.
Yep.
Forget
So
what
I guess
the title-
that handle's been there for a while, maybe not emphasized enough, but that's where it's always been. Okay, any other question? Martin, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah. Afternoon, Kevin. You said the decrease in yard maintenance, so that means like Swinton, he's still doing all that in the new position? Like, is there anything you're not going to do?
Everything will still be cut the same. It's just right now Swinton, Hopeville Depot, Hopeville Park, Innistoke Cemetery and Proton Station is now under contract. And it costs us about 7,000 to cut those. We'll pull that all back, put that against wages, and that then puts that position from 35 hours that was in the Kayla's slide up to 40.
Thank you.
Okay, Monica, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just through you, to Recreation Manager with regards to childcare. My understanding, I know that we have, I think, early years on, if I'm not mistaken. I was wondering, is there any room for like economic development or CIP policy to support a licensed childcare provider through incentive, promotion or space planning?
Kevin?
I would say to answer that, we don't have a facility for that. We've never really taken, I don't think we've ever even looked at childcare through the municipality ever. As we've relied on the early on education, the school program,
Private.
and just local people running daycare. But it's something that the municipality, in all my years of working here, we've never looked at childcare.
So
Yeah, I think we've, go ahead, Monica. Yep.
No, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Kevin, for that, because I know that one of the reasons probably wasn't never looked at so much so is that the growth just has been happening recently, like from 2018 onwards. But I just wondering, would there be a possibility to see if there's anything that's underutilized right now in terms of our assets that we may be able to look into having something like that done, maybe even the town assuming a place? Because one of the obviously raised questions and concerns do come from those that have children that are looking for those childcare services. I was wondering if that would be something that could possibly be looked at to see if there was something we could use.
I suppose anything is possible, but I would remind you that the county is currently approved for 725 childcare spaces, and they're only providing a little over 500 because A, they can't find space, and B, more importantly, they can't find help. So those spaces go unused, unfortunately, and plus we're not funded for that many. So to suggest that Southgate's going to get into the business would be stepping a little bit outside our lane, I would suggest. And I would rather recommend that the county, who is currently doing a lot of childcare, they're the ones that have the experts, the staff and the administration to do that kind of work. If there's interest from a private provider, they approach the county, not the township.
So thank you,
But
Chair.
as
for that.
I say, anything's possible.
Thank you, Chair, again. Because during my time, like working in childcare subsidy area, in my municipal working years, that does make sense. It is something that was normally done regionally. So in our case would be at the county. So perhaps that would, I don't know, be something that you and Deputy Mayor could, if you find it to be of interest, can hopefully push for that for our area in some regard, to see if that would be something that would be helpful. And for help, I think we have quite a few childcare licensed people in our area that are just keen on being able to work in the area. So I know that in the recreation, the arena, where the early on program is, they're doing their best in that little area. It's a bit of a small area for the little kids, but it would be really great to have something in place like that. But thank you. I just wanted to add that.
Okay, thank you. Martin.
Kevin, I was looking at Parkland Developments. I know it's DC's, but with us taking over and assuming some of the parks, those hours, are they in this budget?
Yes, through the chair. Yeah, we've added some wages and time. That's part of this new person's job. So out of the 40 hours, what we're looking at is probably 20 hours of that job directly helping Ethan in the programming. So this is how I got Ethan to start with. He was 20 hours operation, 20 hours programming. He's going to take, the new person would work 20 hours programming, 20 hours operation. So that would take over the new parks, the grass cutting that we're going to take over. The 80,000 parkland development in there, that is for the Glenelg Park that we're in the process of getting close to taking it on. But Flateau wanted to get out of the playground installation business. So, and what they were charging for, to put the playground in, we can put a playground in for probably about $14,000 less. So we took that project back. So that 80,000 will be the playground going into Glenelg, but it's again, fully DC charges.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Oh, Barb, go ahead.
Thank you. And through you, and going back to Councillor Singh Sore's question and your comments about the county and childcare, the funding not being there to fill the spaces that we could, and the wait list. I recall either it was through one of our public meetings on the zoning, there was or the CIP contribution. The property at the corner of Proton Street North and Main, there was discussion publicly that the proposal was for a portion of that lower level to be a licensed private childcare space. Is that A, is that true? But B, is that still going forward?
Thank you, and through you, that is the plan so far. Yes. So
to the best of your knowledge.
That's right. Yes, there is just it is up to the business owner to ensure that he complies with all provincial, licensing for a child care facility, and he has to make specific assurances related to, outdoor space for children and those kinds of things. So as far as I know, that is the plan.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Moving on to Public Works, Roads and Solid Waste. Roads first. John.
Thank you. Through the chair. So we have an overall increase of 879,000 from 2025 to 2026. 554,000 of that goes towards the roads capital as well as debt repayment. It's also deals with increases to material supplies and fuels. Everything just gets more expensive year over year. 86,000 or just shy 87,000 is wages and benefits, which is through promoting an operator to a team leader, as well as the transfer of the admin to the coordinator and taking away the water and wastewater aspect of that wage. We're also proposing to add in 10,000 for implementing an on-call pay system for the snowplow operators for weekends, just as a little extra incentive to have them be available and on call for Saturday and Sunday when we need them. And it helps with retention then as well. So I'll go through the roads capital. So in the roads capital, we have the Braymore Storm Works, which has been kind of a placeholder for a few years. It's just an upgrade to some storm works within the village of Dundalk for 149,000. We're wanting to start to implement a program where we asphalt the approaches to bridges. I'm sure you'll notice on a gravel road, the worst spot for potholes is just right at the bridge. So if we can asphalt out, 100 feet either side of it to the approach, maybe get past the guard beams where we can keep the shoulders down and get the water off the road to help prevent those potholes from starting. Also in here, we have Southgate Road 12 from Gray Road 8 to 21, proposing doing a cold in place with a double surface treatment on top. We've started a double surface treatment again in the last couple of years, and it's been successful at sealing the roads, but this way we would have a nice proper base underneath it, which would help it then last a lot longer as well, as opposed to what we've been doing in the past. We also have Main Street West reconstruction and sidewalks in here. Now that total amount is 4.9 million, but 3.15 million of that is Grey County's. So the only portion that we would be responsible for is 1.78 million. We're also proposing to do culvert replacements on Side Road 71 because we do have in our projected forecast resurfacing Side Road 71 next year or in 2027. So to do the culverts ahead of time and get a frost cycle through them and just make for much nicer road. Also in here, Side Road 3 from Southgate Road 8 to Gray Road 9, do a cold in place and pave on top of that. And that's also includes changing all the culverts along that stretch of road as well for 2 million. Also, we have in here replacing structure 36, which is on Side Road 71. It's a box culvert. And again, that just kind of plays into the resurfacing of Side Road 71 next year. And it's also, I believe, number 8 on the top 10 list for priority for replacements on the OSM 2025 OSM report. We are currently waiting for hydrology testing from Burnsides to see if we can, instead of doing a box culvert, put in steel pipe, and which would considerably reduce the cost. But I still want to keep in the 700,000 in case it does have to be a concrete structure. Also, we have S125, which is dual culverts at the end of Southgate Road 14 at Gray Road 8. I believe they're number 2 on the OSM list for 200,000. And then Bradley and High Point upgrades for 66,000, which is part of the Osprey Street up into the new subdivision. We have the Artemisia Southgate Town Line from Proton Station to Highway 10. Pulverize, lift of gravel, change culverts, and lift of asphalt on top of that. Our portion of that would be 350,000 because it is a boundary road. We would be in it with Grey Highlands. They would be the lead township on it, and then that would just be our portion. And included in that as well as we there's a short chunk west of Side Road 73 on the town line that goes to a bridge that is just a pain for maintenance in the gravel. So while the paver is right there, we might as well get it shaped up and pave it, and then it's done. We have the Osprey Street construction, which is a full reconstruction for 4.1 million. And then $30,000 for sidewalk replacements in Dundalk. Upgrades. We get to equipment. We have in here, we don't have a backhoe currently. We have the rubber tied excavator, as you know, and it's kept fairly busy with the brusher head, and we would like to keep that going. So we're proposing to add a backhoe to the fleet just so that we can have our own machine instead of having to contract it out to run around and open up culverts. And rather than taking that excavator away from brushing, it can keep at that, and the backhoe can do these other little jobs. We also have a single axle plow truck for Dundalk for 300,000, which would be replacing unit 215, which we purchased in 2015. So it is 10 years old, and by the time we get this one, it'll probably be 12 years old. So it'll need replacing. We have the 50% of the tandem plow truck that we had ordered in 2025 for 215,000. You also have the pickup truck that was deferred from 2025 for 60,000. The trackless boom mower. So we have 3 of these trackless machines that we use for sidewalk maintenance in the wintertime. And in the summertime, one of them gets utilized on a sweeper, but the other 2 aren't fully utilized. And there is a little boom mower that can go on it that we could go a couple of years after we have the big brusher head and the excavator go and do brushing in the ditches. We could go and keep the forest slope, all the little stuff that keeps coming up, keep it cleaned up and help keep a better job of keeping that vegetation down. And then the last for the equipment is an SUV for the Dundalk Depot, which would be shared with water and wastewater as well. 45 total. I think our portion would be 11,000. Yeah, 11,250. So not much there, but
No, not much if you say it, Pat. Questions, Martin?
Well, there's quite a bit there, and it's good to see since we were talking about assets this morning, I guess. You mentioned 700,000 you're gonna keep for the culverts.
so I'm just gonna keep 700 in the
Yeah,
budget right
in the
now.
budget.
Yeah.
So keeping that that's how much the concrete culverts would cost, or would that be a tendered out contract? Because
So
it's like-
that would be for the whole replacement. So
So,
that would be tendered out to a contractor. to
okay,
do
so
that
staff
replacement.
wouldn't be involved in,
Typically not for those ones. No, we
but the
we don't have the
steel culverts? you
steel.
do?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Same as what we did on 14 this year.
okay, and you said you need a backhoe?
Yep.
Would that be involved? We talked a lot about graves and cemeteries today, but would that be used for burials instead of contracting that out?
It could be, in discussions with staff. We have to be careful. There's certain spots in cemeteries where the backhoe is just too big and bulky to get into, so
Need a little mini.
then we'd have to rent a mini or whatever, yeah. But we do currently contract the grave digging out.
I have one more.
Sure,
This is
carry
another
on.
question.
No, carry on.
Okay. Lindsay, could you bring up the additional proposed items, page 74? Why are you laughing? I asked nicely.
Well, you asked me, but it's Holly.
Oh, Holly. Could you do that, please?
The additional one. Sorry, Taylor, it's the additional one that you want.
Yeah, the additional proposed item.
Page 6.
Slide 21.
Yeah, slide 24, page 6, I'm sorry.
No, sorry, it is 24, just the roads.
Oh, okay, sorry, Holly, that was right there.
Oh, well, that's, okay,
one?
yeah, those ones, yeah, no, that's fine. Out of all those that were taken off, like I'm looking at 5. Oh, different slide, doesn't matter. I'm looking at 5 of them. Are there any of those that should be done this year or next year? Like we've been talking about a 5-year plan this morning. Is there anything that's crucial on there for this year?
So that's
excuse me.
S33 bridge replacement. It's number 1 on our OSUM top 10 report, but
Yeah.
the struggle with it is it is a no winter maintenance road.
Oh,
So it's where do we draw the line on spending money on these replacements to keep things like that? But if you're wanting to add some of those in, that I would say that would be near the top. And then I would also, we've started the micro surfacing program again, and I'm encouraged by it, seeing the results and how it has, for instance, on Highway 89, they did it from Con to Mount Forest in 2019, and that road still looks good with that on there. And I think that it will definitely add to the lifespan of our pavement if we carry on with that project. And those are all sections of road that were paved in 2019 or 2020. So they're just right at that right age for being eligible for it.
No, I don't see somebody spending money on a bridge when it's a non-winter.
And the other one that, in discussions with Taylor, just because I'm just gonna name them all out here, but contributions to reserves we really should be keeping up on, because some of these bigger bridges that we are eventually gonna have to replace, and just so we don't all of a sudden have a $2.5 million bridge get condemned and have nothing there.
Well, I just saw adding them up, even with the contribution to reserves, it's like, it says 947 there, you take out the reserves, it's still over 6%, but
Yeah.
it's 6% that should be spent. That's why I asked if there's
Yeah.
any main one specific we can take this year. So
Yeah.
that's something to think about, I guess.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Barb?
Thank you. When you said the microsurfacing of 89 from Con to Mount Forest, that wouldn't be we,
Oh, that was the
that
MPO.
was the MTO,
Yeah.
but you're observing how well it is working, so we can mirror that in our own applications.
Yep.
We just had a conversation about an asset management plan, and I think we committed to schedule 2 of like 5.9. So does this get factored into these 4 consideration items?
So ideally, that line of the 500,000 would be the asset management plan, essentially.
Thank you. One thing that has come up, we've had this discussion previously with regard to the Hagan Street section between Young Street and Rose Lane, that new gravel portion that goes by Edgewood Suites. Is there any I know the road and the width, is there any possibility of installing, creating a sidewalk or a paved walkway that could be maintained along that stretch? I know there's concerns, spoke with someone today about there not being a sidewalk in front of the school, but I don't believe that Hagan West has it's not wide enough to accommodate the roads, the no parking and the school. I think it would likely be a school board installation, and they would then have to maintain it. Like if it was just a paved pathway like we have from the Optimist, from the school south in Holstein to connect up with the sidewalk, that was done through granting, I believe, Jim? Yeah, that what options do we have with regard to the section between Young Street and Rose Lane for a sidewalk along that route and or any other area? And what is the cost of a sidewalk installation per, I don't know, half a kilometer?
Through the chair. Sky's really the limit as far as how much you want to put into there. But
We
yeah,
don't want it
we could-
paved with gold.
yeah, it's a matter of whether you do a fully urbanized street with curb and sidewalk, or which we would have to go back to our consulting engineers just to see what would be the best avenue forward there. And as far as the cost per 100 meters of sidewalk, I'm not sure. I don't know off the top of my head what the cost of sidewalk is for installation.
Yep, go ahead.
So I guess through you to John, are we entertaining building that section? Like right now it's gravel, there's restrictions as far as ditching and all of that. It wasn't, it's a thoroughfare now. What is the plan for that section, and will it eventually incorporate paved shoulder? Like we have paved sidewalks, they're more like an expanded roadway on Main Street where the children can walk.
Yeah, it's not in the near future, but I'm sure it would get done eventually. And if it's council's desire, we can bump it up to. And
Jim?
I recall a few years ago, we provided council with estimate for urbanization from the block 75 apartments across to Young Street there. I think it was 500 or 600,000. That would give you the sidewalk, curb, as well. We did do work to extend the culverts to widen the road. But I think that was the range before. As far as urbanizing Hagan West in front of the school, we wouldn't just place the sidewalk there. We would wait till we fully constructed, urbanized it. And that should be put in the capital plan because that does need some improvement down that area, especially for stormwater drainage. So, and that could tie in with a Hagen Gold loop, but I wouldn't just throw a sidewalk in there to say we have a sidewalk for 50 meters or whatever it is, and then rip it out to urbanize.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on? Oh, sorry, Jim, I forgot you had your hand up. I apologize.
Hey, John, the backhoe, how many hours would you guesstimate a year we'd get out of it? Just because I'm kind of wondering, is it something where we could go slightly used, like 3 years, get a 3-year-old machine, which would maybe drop the price down, and then we could look at bringing in those 2 micro surfacing jobs?
Yeah, we could consider that. Like I'd say we'd put a couple hundred hours anyways on it in a year. So, and the other thing is, a backup for our loaders for loading snow in the winter time.
Yeah.
It would be used
so-
for that as well.
But like a 3-year-old.
We could certainly look at
Yeah,
a good used one. Yeah.
okay.
Marketplace.
I'll get on that tonight.
6 options.
What am I bid? Any other thoughts, questions? Okay, we'll move on then to what was next? Water?
Waste
Sorry?
resources, same slide.
Oh yeah, water resources or waste resources and diversion. John?
So the total operating budget for that is 981,000, which is a $71,000 increase year over year. 84,591 of that is in wages and benefits, and that's with the rejigging of the managers and a higher percentage going to the waste than what there was before. Also step increases in COLA. We're anticipating $16,500 increase in revenue from fees and tipping fees. On the capital budget, we have 50,000 for Holstein transfer station upgrades. 900,000 for the Dundalk transfer station upgrades. I know originally we had, I believe it was just shy of 600, but we've gotten a new estimate from the engineering company, and they had grossly underestimated the cost of the reinforced cement walls that we were talking about putting in for the bins. So they are currently looking at other more cost-effective options for that wall as opposed to reinforced concrete. Then we have 25,000 in there for a covered 40-yard bin. And then we went over budget on the roll-off tarp system for the roll-off truck. So we have 23,800 in to cover that overage.
Okay, thank you, John. Any questions on any of that? A covered bin would be made locally, I presume. If not, we get them local. Yeah, that's good. Okay, moving on to water and wastewater. Corey.
Thank you. Through the chair, we had about a $21,000 decrease year over year. That payments to the water tower in Victoria Street. We had an increase in repairs, maintenance and materials. One of them was a new flow meter at well 3 for 10,000. Another one is the flow meter at well 5, which has been ordered. And a big part of it is water meter repairs. So they're becoming near the end of their life. So we go in ourselves and replace them. And the average water meter costs between $400 and $500. So that's adding up, and that'll continue for the next few years until they're all replaced. We had an increase in revenues. A big part of that will be from the bulk water station, which is being used quite a bit from different contractors. And I can just see that getting more and more over the years as word gets out. We're kind of hearing we're in a good location because nowhere really close to us has a bulk water station, and some of the towns that do won't sell it to local contractors unless you're working for the municipality. And then we have wages and benefits. Like Kayla talked about the promotions and adding a team leader and having a dedicated water operations admin. Any questions?
Questions on that? Not seeing any?
Okay, and then for wastewater, $67,000 increase. We had a $20,000 increase to lagoon professional services. So we had a company come in this year to remove weeds from a pond, from one of our ponds, which was overgrown. And we might have to do that year over year. We're also dosing the ponds with alum more often now. We just had it done last week. And that's to help control weed growth as well as control our pH, our total suspended solids, and some other parameters. And the hope is that we can keep discharging longer into the winter without shutting down and having to collect water, which leads into the next $10,000 collection system review study. That's in hopes to hire a company in the spring to go on camera the sewers and look for bad joints, leaks, and that type of things, which are adding water to our system that doesn't need to be there. That $10,000 will cover about 2.8 kilometers of sewer main, which if we take away Main Street, which has been cameraed, and Victoria Street, Osprey Street, we can do the rest of the old part of town in about 4 to 5 years. And that'll tell us, if our system's in good shape or bad shape and where repairs are needed. Because we do have a lot of I&I issues. Where in the spring, we're seeing close to 7,000 cubic meters of water come into that system a day. We're in the summertime, and when it's dry, we're seeing 700. So we're talking 10 times the amount in the spring. And that's when we're shut down, and that's when we're collecting, and that's why the ponds get full so fast because of this I&I issue. The only other thing on here is, again, the wages and benefits. And we did have an increase in revenues. That'll be related to just water usage throughout the township.
Any questions? Taylor, absolutely.
Just want to reiterate and clear up any confusion that might still be happening. So anything water, wastewater related is not coming out of anybody's tax bill whatsoever. So the rate and the rate study that Watson is currently doing is in an effort to fund all the projects that we have going forward and what our engineers suggest to us for doing. So that the revenue we bring in through the standard fee and then the base fee and then the consumption fee, those fund the future projects. Any amount over and above what Corey is bringing in as essentially profit goes into a water reserve. And then those future projects come out of that water reserve, nothing taxation, just to be clear.
Corey, what you indicated in the spring, we can be up to 7,000 cubic meters of water that we have to treat. What's it costing us to treat that extra water? Do you have a ballpark figure?
No, I don't. So I don't have a ballpark figure, but we're adding chemical to it and we're pumping it. And again, one of the most important things is it's taking up space, valuable space in the lagoons.
Well, it's taking up capacity in the Foley drain as well, right?
And also when they look at not rate studies, capacity studies, they look at your max flow day, right? So they're looking and saying, okay, we could get 7,000 every single day potentially. And they use that to make those studies, right? So if we were to reduce I&I, you reduce that max flow rate or max flow day, which gives you more capacity.
Right. Right. So that $10,000 to try to figure out where that money's coming or where that water's coming from might be pretty small compared to what it's costing us to treat all that extra water every year.
Yes.
Right. And as you say, the capacity is valuable.
Yeah.
Barb.
What's I&I?
Sorry. I&I is inflow and infiltration. So inflow is like direct water, like say an eaves trough is connected to or a sump pump connected to your sewer system, where I&I is like it's leaking into the ground and getting into a crack in the pipe. So there's two major, but we do have both because we've been out there on a rainy day and and it's say the sun's out also and it starts pouring. we'll see the flows increase within half an hour of a rainfall event. So it's getting there very quickly.
Okay. Thank you, Corey. Cemetery and crossing guards.
Thank you, through the chair. So this is a total operating budget of 70,433. Sorry, this is for the cemetery. Which is a 25,800 year over year net impact. 9,700 of that is wages and benefits from an increase of hours for the admin and management, step creases and COLA. 2,000 of that is for covering the additional costs of assumed cemeteries. 1,500 is for audit fees, which was not budgeted under the cemetery in 2025. And 1,500 of that is for machine rentals for burials.
Any questions on the cemetery budget? Okay, carry on.
And finally, crossing guards, total operating budget of 27,000, which is a $6,700 year over year net impact, mostly through wages and benefits, crossing guard management, step increases, and COLA.
Okay, not seeing any questions on that one. Taylor?
Back to me. Okay, so this is just an overview of everything that John and Corey have both gone through, just on I guess, a funding source. And then John's is obviously summarized much more than the detail he was able to bring up before. It's just too much detail to be able to provide in a presentation line by line. So if anyone has questions on the projects being brought forward, we'll take them.
Any questions on that particular, that would be slide number 20, I presume. Yeah, I see. Okay, not seeing any for now.
Barb.
Oh, sorry, Barb, go ahead.
So getting back to our asset management plan, how, with all of this that's being proposed and great work, how does this address our plan to achieve that asset management, maintenance and investment?
So this budget was brought forward without that in mind because we weren't sure when the asset management plan would be brought forward. I'd have to go back now that council made their decision on what the impact would actually be dollar for dollar, because we did increase capital spending year over year from 25 to 26. So there will be some that we've now funded a bit of the asset management plan. So I'll have to bring that back to the 17th.
Okay, we've done, sorry. Oh, Jim? And then Monica.
Yeah, well, these projects that are listed here will have major tie-in with asset management and improvement because we're doing Main Street West water upgrade, Osprey Street, road reconstruction along Osprey. Like there's some major projects again that are going to move the dial on the asset management and reset them. So.
Absolutely. Taylor? Monica, sorry, Monica had a question. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just through you, I'm not sure if this would be a proper place to ask this, but has there been a consideration about if there would be possibility to extend the hours at the transfer station?
John?
It's something we haven't looked at, but we certainly can look into it and see what the cost impact would be.
Okay, that'd be something to bring back to the next meeting, if you wouldn't mind, please. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, John?
Sorry, if I may just.
Yep.
What sort of, what, just Dundalk or both transfer stations, or how much longer? What kind of scope would you be looking for?
To me, thank you through you, Chair, and thank you for the question. I do know that I believe there's a Tuesday and a Saturday that's there. Perhaps a little bit more extended hours into the evening. And I guess generally a little bit more longer on the weekends because of what I'm hearing from some is that they're, obviously we're considered a bedroom community in a lot of the ways. So people are leaving to go to work and when they get back, they don't have the time to get there. And then I think they're a bit shorter hours on the weekend on a Saturday, up until a certain time. Maybe that could possibly be extended. And I guess for this, I'll just boomerang over to Councillor John for if you've heard, because I know you're asking me about the dogs, but in the same aspect, have you heard anything, if that's okay with you, Chair? If I could ask Councillor John as well to chime in if she knows of anything about the transfer station too?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just think it would be an increase for the Saturday because a lot of people that are then they're home on a Saturday, but during the week they travel back and forth, and we have warned them, and they now know about getting fined if they put anything outside the front of their homes. So they would want to go to the transfer station on a Saturday, but probably sometimes they would not come back on a Friday night. By the time they get here Saturday and get the stuff together and get a truck or whatever, the transfer station is closed. I think it closed at 2 p.m., correct? Somebody.
1 o'clock, I believe.
Yeah, so it's a little bit early, so I would say maybe an extension on the Saturday, but not another full day to have, but maybe maybe up until 5 o'clock on a Saturday or 4 o'clock instead of 1. Thank you.
And Chair, just about the Holstein, Chair, would you or anyone in Holstein maybe could speak to if the Holstein area transfer station, if, because I think Phil was asking about both locations. Maybe you or anyone else maybe know more about that area too for the hours.
John, are you finding any requests for extended hours in the West End?
I haven't heard any, no,
No.
but
Okay.
Go ahead, Jim.
I will say I've had a few people say it's Saturday, they're trying to get some renovations done and it would be nice for a 4 or 5 p.m. on a Saturday.
Right, mid-afternoon kind of thing. Barb?
Thank you. And we still offer, or perhaps we don't, but we were offering a Thursday in Dundalk during the spring. And I'm not sure how well attended or utilized that Thursday was. Perhaps shifting the hours from Thursday to Saturday would have, negligible cost impacts the employees having to work the Saturday, but I'm just, perhaps that's something that we can investigate as to how well utilized the extra day in the spring was for spring cleanup compared to if we were to extend it on a Saturday.
Okay. Joan, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand what you're saying about the Thursday, Deputy Mayor, but as I mentioned before, a lot of the people that are using it, they're not here during the week or they're not on time. And as Councillor Ferguson just said, like people who are doing renovation and stuff on Saturdays, they would need that. So maybe we could kind of work around the hours, take away the Thursday, see what it would cost, because I know Saturday might be time and a half, and see how we could work out something that is viable to both parties. Thank you.
Yeah, we can have a look at that. Go ahead.
I agree, Councillor John. That was kind of why I was curious as to how well utilized Thursday was. Maybe able to just simply shift the hours from Thursday, instead of having Thursday, have them on Saturday, and it would have negligible budget impact. So I agree.
Okay. I don't know about anybody else's seat, but the mind can only absorb what the earth can take, is an old saying. We're getting perilously close to 4 o'clock. So I'm wondering, Madam Clerk, CEO, is this where we conclude for today and we can re-adjourn or reassemble on the 17th to take this up? Or what are you thinking?
Can we get Taylor to go towards the end and get the high level? And
Sure.
then we can, but
Okay.
the in-between stuff can maybe wait.
All right, I have 3 or 4 pages, I think, to finish your report. Is that what you're thinking, Jim? The high level stuff?
I think if you go through like the rest of your slides at a high level, then
But
Is
just
what
before-
Jim means.
But just before you go there, I have a question. Jason.
Well, I was just, to Jim's point about the backhoe, I don't know where we'd find it, but for these extra items for consideration, John, in the capital budget that you said the surfacing is working good. I would like to maybe see if we could add these other small projects in to that surfing. I mean, it's 250,000, but if we talk about asset management, if we're staying on top of it, I think it'd be roads. I don't know if we can look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Something to consider. Okay, Taylor?
Okie dokie.
No pressure.
Let's see how fast I can go. So we've already kind of gone over all of these things. The only thing we didn't go into for capital wise was industrial land. So I do have, in the 2025 budget, we had slated to essentially start the Highway 10 bypass. So 26, I've now had that project completed. I know that that's not accurate, but, at least the finances show the picture that it is completed. So we've now reduced the reserves to show a more true picture of what it will look like when that project is complete, so we can make decisions going forward.
Okay.
Next slide. Okay, so we've already gone through those. So this is capital funding sources across all projects. So regular reserves, we're using 4.7 million. The majority of that is the Highway 10 expansion, I will say. 4.7 million is for DCs and restricted reserves. We received a grant sorry, it's failing me now that there's pressure on. Developer contribution, this is the Highway 10 expansion, so the Flato portion, as well as Gray County for the Main Street West reconstruction, like their portion paid back to us. We have 65,000 in for sale of assets for John's equipment. We do have just over $4 million in debt issuance proposed. And then 2.3 million of a transfer to capital, 679,000 of a transfer to reserves, and then the debt repayments as well. So if there's any questions on that. Fabulous. Okay, and then this is the overall picture. Obviously, this is much different now since we've had some
You'll have this
changes.
recalculated for the next meeting?
Yes, I will.
Very good. Thank you.
And then, so this is the slide that we actually have a lot of people call in about, and my staff do answer questions on this a lot. So each of them have this pie chart on their desk, which I think is kind of cool. But I just wanted to reiterate to council that this pie chart did not change 25 to 26. So all the percentages are the exact same as they were last year, which is good because that means we are funding in the same sort of way. That means whatever we provided to roads in previous years, it's the same percentage as we have always done and throughout the whole municipality. So I think
So that, sorry to interrupt, that pie chart is divided up according to percentage, not dollars. Or is it dollars, not percentages?
it's both percentages of the dollar. Sorry.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Just testing. Sorry.
You're the accountant, not me.
Yeah, you're. Carry on. You don't want me as your accountant, I can tell you that.
And then this is a picture of our general reserves. So we start at around just over 25 million, and then going in is 1.6 million, coming out is 8.9. Again, in the reserves capital purposes line, I do have an error there. I just picked up the wrong number. That instead of 4.2 million coming out, that should actually be 1 million coming out. I thank you to Deputy Mayor for pointing that out. Much appreciated. So again, a lot of these reserves, 18 million is a great balance, but a lot of those are already earmarked. Obligatory reserves are the DCs, so those are specific use only. A lot of that capital purposes is water and wastewater, so we cannot use that unless it's water and wastewater. So I think that about 6 million of that is actually true taxation that we could use. So just for council to keep that in mind, $6 million when we have about 60 million depreciated in assets is not significant. But alas. Community funds. These are highly relied upon funds for different commitments we have throughout Southgate, and then it also provides for the grants and donations policies. The North Wellington Aquatic commitment that we have to Mount Forest is in here as well. So Since these are highly used funds, we thought it was prudent to show kind of the balances and the commitments that we already have in here. I know there was some talk today about other items that could maybe come out of here, but I just thought it was good to point these two reserves out specifically. Any questions on these ones? Fabulous. Debenture summary. So there's obviously some shifts in here as well with the revenue change. It won't be too much, but as of today, we have 3.7 million room for annual repayment limit. And then as of 2026, we will have 1.4 million of repayments. So it will bring our repayment limit down to 2.4 million, which is great. But then we look to the future and we see the 10-year outlook. And if we spend all the money that we hope to spend and take on all the debt to avoid major taxation hits, we will be almost at debt capacity in 2029. This is a similar outlook to what I provided for last year. Actually, last year in 2029, we would have exceeded debt capacity. So this is mostly because the Victoria Street loan now came into place actual versus budget, and the rates were slightly lower. Now, also some of this could be altered because you could take on longer term loans. Most of these I have in as 10-year loans, so you can kind of play with these numbers a bit, but just as a demonstration, this is where we look. $403.
Any more questions for today? All right. So I was just gonna suggest that between now and the 17th, if you have more questions, suggestions, by all means, contact Taylor. We can do that. And
Ideally before the agenda.
or 1 o'clock on the 17th
Yeah.
would be preferable, but nonetheless.
She means before publishing, which is
Oh, I
next
see.
next Thursday.
Okay,
But ideally before that, so it can be incorporated.
yeah, okay. All right. Very good then. So we have a mover and a seconder, I believe, to receive that report. All those in favor to receive it? That is carried. Resolved back to council. Someone care to move? Jim, seconded by Monica. Thank you. All those in favor? That is carried. Motions resulting from committee of the whole. Can we take all three of these at once, Madam Clerk, or do you want individual motions?
Yeah, we can change it all at once. That's fine. There wasn't any. Yeah.
Unless,
It's different when there's previous years when there's been direction, but it's all just received for information. So if you want to do it that way, that's fine.
okay, so the motion would read something to the effect to receive from information items 8, 1, 2, and 3. Barb will move, Jim will second. All those in favor? That is carried. We don't have any closed meeting. We have a confirming bylaw. Jason will move. Joan will second. All those in favor? That is carried. Motion to adjourn. Barb and Jim, all those in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
2023.